everybody, and welcome to yet another slightly belated episode of Best Boys, a podcast about movies. My name's Mark. I'm going to be your host today, and with me is my good buddy Chris. Chris, it's been a while since you have been on the podcast. For anybody who's listening in for the first time, why don't you introduce yourself, tell them where they can find you, what you're about.
All right, I'm Chris. I am an animator normally. I am on Twitter at Chris_Costi, and I've recently become an animator for a YouTuber by the name of It's Alex Clark, so you can check out his stuff. It's Alex.
Oh,
yeah,
damn.
It's Alex Clark, all one word.
I'm checking this out right now.
Episodes, just a few scenes and a few of the most recent ones. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked this up right now. This
is a live announcement
that's
for Mark
really
too,
cool.
because I keep forgetting to tell people.
No, that's really, really sweet. Yeah, I'll definitely put a link to that in the description.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, man. No, that's awesome that you're like getting out there, because I don't know, anybody listen to this might not have seen Chris's stuff. I mean, I will say probably haven't, because I'm referencing like your animation portfolio, and that's stuff that I don't think you've put out there. But cool stuff. Like, actually, this ties into something I'm going to mention a little bit later. But when I was researching Pan's Labyrinth, one of the things I stumbled upon was Mirror Masks.
Yes, I love Mirror Masks.
And literally the first thing I did was look up the riddle bit, because I remember that was you had animated that for, I think, like a final or something like that.
3 or 4 years ago I animated that bit. It's still funny to me.
Yeah. Oh, it's a secret, that whole bit. Yeah. No, that's really cool though. That's awesome to hear. But yeah, like I mentioned at the start of this episode, a little bit belated, just because I try to have an episode out at the end of each month. Things got a little hectic. Summer's starting up, school is ending, jobs are starting, so it can be a little difficult to get a hold of people. So that's why I appreciate Chris coming out for this one.
No problem.
So let's look back at some trailers. And normally, had this come out on time, I'd just be talking about the trailers we got in May. But to be honest, I think that things getting kind of delayed and a little bit messed up might have been a saving grace, because we got like bombarded with trailers for animated sequels like a week ago.
In like the last week.
Yeah, like one after the other. I think some on the same day. Like, I know E3 is happening right now as we're recording this, but I mean that's video games. Was there something going on? Like, because I mean we got Incredibles 2, we got Wreck-It Ralph 2, we got Lego Movie 2, we got How to Train Your Dragon. Like, we got all this stuff coming. We got Spider-Verse all coming out in like the span of 3 days. But yeah, I figure we'll get to the animated trailers in a bit. First one I'd like to talk about, actually, not an animated movie. This one is interesting. It's a movie called Hotel Artemis. And the neat thing is, I had no idea this existed. The first time I saw this trailer was when I went to go see Deadpool 2, which we'll also talk about in a bit. And it looked really, really cool. And I went, that looks neat. When's that coming out? And it's out right now as we're recording this.
Yeah.
I've yet to go check it out, but I really want to, because it looks really, really neat.
I might be going on Tuesday, so we'll see next episode if I have anything to talk about.
Yeah, definitely gonna have to let me know what you think about that one.
It looks amazing.
It looks really, really stylish. It looks really cool. And it's got a lot of people that I really like it. It's got Dave Bautista, especially Charlie Day. I love Charlie Day.
Yes.
Whenever he gets to do anything other than It's Always Sunny, it's always really interesting to me, because I feel like it's like when you get to see Adam West do something other than be Batman, you know?
Or himself.
Yeah. Like, he's so ingrained in that role that you kind of forget that he's actually a really good actor. And I especially like to see him playing distinctly un-Charlie Day roles.
Yes.
Like he is in Hotel Artemis. It looks really, really neat. And I'm a big fan of those the Raid or Dread type movies where the premise is just crime happens in a big building.
Yeah, you can already
It's
tell
that
from just like
seems
the few shots in the trailer that it's gonna be well shot and focused. Majority on combat, kind of like the Raid and the Raid 2. Um,
yeah.
and it's really one
That's
of those
a
trailers for movies that, like, just from the cast alone, like before you even talk about any of the other stuff, you just see who's going to be in it, and you're like, oh, okay, well that's worth a watch from that alone.
right. A lot of cool people
Mm-hmm.
are in a big building in weird future city, and crime happens and everyone dies. You
That's all
got
I need.
Sofia Boutella, from Kingsman and
Mm-hmm.
the really terrible Mummy remake. Uh, you got a lot of interesting casting choices in there, and I like to see that. I like when you get these kind of smaller, weirder movies with really interesting casts.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's Jodie Foster, right?
Yes, it is
Is
Jodie Foster.
is the doctor in that, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, Jodie Foster, Batista, Sofia Boutella, and Charlie Day are all criminals in a big high rise. That's also a hospital, and Jeff Goldblum wants his diamonds back. like, that was the best part. Is
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching that trailer, and it's like Charlie Day, Batista. It's like, okay, that's interesting. The second they're talking like, oh man, don't cross this guy. He's the baddest dude ever. And it's Jeff Goldblum wearing, I think, the same outfit from Thor Ragnarok.
I mean, I believe that it was at least on the short list for one of the scenes in Ragnarok.
And it's like that's how you get my money.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get me. And just throw Goldblum in it. Every movie's better with Goldblum.
I don't know if you've seen, not to sidetrack, but people have done like
Oh, that's so unlike us going
yeah, I
off on
know.
random tangents.
Well, I mean, Thor Ragnarok is on the docket technically,
It is.
but there was an interview with Jeff Goldblum about whether or not his character. Do we still have to say spoilers for Infinity War or not? It's June.
Um.
It's spoilers within
Yeah.
the next
If
second
anybody
for Infinity War.
spoilers for like the next second, just click the little right mouse key to skip ahead five
Yeah,
seconds if you're still haven't seen the biggest movie of the past decade
yeah.
by now.
So people were asking him if his character, the Grandmaster, died in Infinity War, and not only did he
Hmm.
answer it like as if like he were the character, like he wasn't saying the character did or didn't die. He was saying I did not die. Like he was using I
Oh, that's
pronouns the
great.
entire way through. And he was like, I don't die. You can't kill me. I'm like a vampire. I decide who lives and who dies. Like he just went on this rant in character.
That was Jeff Goldblum. He wasn't even in character.
Exactly. Like he responded as if somebody asked him if Jeff Goldblum died in Infinity War, and he was just as incredulous as if somebody walked up to him and said, "Hey, did you die like a month ago?"
That's amazing. I just got done watching there was a live stream because it is E3 while we're recording this. There was a live stream for the Jurassic World video game that's coming out. That's like a park builder. It's like a Zoo Tycoon type management
Oh,
sim.
nice.
And one of the big feathers in that game's cap is they got Jeff Goldblum to voice. He's basically your Bruce Campbell to your Spider-Man 2 in that game,
Okay.
where you've been put in charge of Jurassic World to build the theme parks on all the islands, and you have all of the slimy business people coming in, and then you also have Jeff Goldblum kind of sitting on your other shoulder, being like, maybe that's not a good idea, and trying to be like your conscious, your voice of reason. And there's a pretty funny bit where they aired a pre-recorded interview with him, where it's just like if it was anybody else, it would almost be like, wow, they're being really unprofessional. But because it was Jeff
Mm-hmm.
Goldblum, it's like, oh, he's just having fun with
Right.
this. They had him try and name a bunch of dinosaurs, and he ends up spontaneously reenacting the bit with the cup of water with the one lady who was
Oh my
interviewing him.
god.
It was it was great. It was wonderful. Normally, I hate those kinds of like, let's go to a staged PR thing because it's
Right.
E3, but he turned it around and made it something special.
I need to check that out now. There's
But
so much things going on right now that are being streamed like simultaneously that I can't catch everything.
the best part of it by far is they're feeding him like scenarios. They're like, okay, Jeff Goldblum, if you were in a dinosaur park and this happened, what would you do? And for one of them, it was like, so you're in Jurassic World, and a storm is coming, and the power's gonna go off. What are you gonna do? And he's like, oh, that actually happened when we were filming the first one. We were in Hawaii and a hurricane hit, and they had to hole us up in a shelter for 5 days while the storm passed, and 5 people lost their lives. So isn't that a crackerjack of a story? And the interviewers are like, oh my god. And he's just like, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I was like watching it while I was tidying up my place, and I had to like just stop and stare at him for a few minutes.
Just try to get a read on his face, see how genuine he's being. You know it's not true, but there's still like a glint.
I think it totally is. That's the best part. I remember reading that once.
That's even worse.
That like an actual because that's the irony, isn't it? Is Jurassic Park got shut down by a tropical storm, but like no, it actually happened, and apparently it did actually kill people. Yeah, I don't know if it was related strictly to the production or if it was just storm happened, but
Jesus,
yeah, pretty good way to tell that story, I guess. Definitely sticks with you.
So Hotel Artemis.
Yeah, Hotel Artemis looks cool. No dinosaurs, but it does have Jeff Goldblum, so it looks pretty cool. Then also another trailer I got with Deadpool 2, and this one I'm really not sure on.
Me too.
Yeah, it's a film called The Happy Time Murders. Now, this is being directed by Jim Henson's son, right?
I think so.
I'm going to double check that because I'm pretty sure that's what it said in the trailer. And if I remember correctly, I think Sesame Street is actually pursuing legal action against them.
Yeah.
Yes, it's directed by Brian Henson. And yeah, this I don't know about. Because I'm a big fan of like Muppets and practical puppets and all that kind of stuff.
On paper, it sounds like it would be amazing, and then I watched the trailer.
It's like what a clever idea, It's like what if Avenue Q was a crime drama, But then you watch the trailer and it's like, oh, it's just Sausage Party, but the joke is that they're puppets instead of their cartoon food.
It's just like
Melissa McCarthy gets hit in the vagina.
Just so lowbrow to the point that it
whackity schmackity do. It's
how is this like we already had Crank Yankers 10 years ago? Like how is this? This isn't innovative. It's just gross for the sake of being gross.
Goddamn, Crank Yankers was great. Oh man, no, real talk. That was like every day in high school because that's all they would air on Comedy Central.
It's
in the middle of the day. It was that and reruns of both Scrubs and 30 Rock. So that's all I watched until Adult Swim came on when I was a kid.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't that like either improv or it was at least sold as improv?
At least sold as improv. I would not be shocked if it was, or at least if most of it was unscripted.
Mm-hmm.
But because I know Billy West was in that. I think Tom Kenny did some voices on that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember very distinctly there was one episode where just inexplicably they decided to have a musical guest because they have one of the puppets come out. And they're just like, ladies and gentlemen, the Flaming Lips. And then the Flaming Lips come out. And I think they might have been puppets too. But it was what a strange product of its time Crank Yankers was.
Right. And now people are trying to do it again, but worse and somehow with a bigger budget.
Man. I mean, like, visually it looks pretty good. The puppets are all impressive, which is to be expected.
I mean, I think if we have to fault anywhere, it's like the writing. Like, You could have taken
Yeah.
every other trapping of this and like made the writing a little bit higher brow, like do something a little bit more serious with it.
See, because that's the weird thing. It's hard to pin stuff like this down because I know there are a lot of movies that I absolutely love that are just like boner comedies. Where the punchline is like, oh, something disgusting happened. You got movies like the Jackass movies or like Borat or
Mm-hmm.
Bruno, and it's like those are the most like surface level. Like, I mean, Borat has some stuff going on underneath it, but like for the most part, it's like the joke is, they're naked and
Yeah,
fighting, or like
but there's
or
something
something
to
like
be said
that,
for
and
like
they still manage to
timing
do.
and comedy, and maybe you shouldn't trust a trailer, but like that one joke at the end with the silly string that just goes on for like 45
Or he's,
seconds.
he's coming silly string for
Like,
5 minutes.
that's just overly
Yeah.
long gags are so easy to do, and then it seems like it's really easy to fuck it up, I guess.
It's weird because you can have a movie where the whole joke is like, okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
foul. It's like
What if
it
this
goes
childlike thing
way
works?
over the line of good taste. Yeah, what if this childlike thing, jizzed for 30
Yeah,
seconds uninterrupted on screen? And it's like, okay, but there has to be something kind
yeah,
of clever about it, kind of original about it. Because like to reference like something like Borat, it's like so much of the humor in
mm-hmm.
Borat is like cringe comedy. It's like look at this guy be like an awkward weirdo in front
Yeah,
of like normal people, but then you've got the whole underlying thing where it'll be like, oh no, it's working on an extra level. It's not just Sacha Baron Cohen, you know, runs
mm-hmm.
into a place with his dick out. It'll be like Sacha Baron Cohen runs into a
Yeah,
neo-Nazi meeting with his dick out, and it's like, okay, that makes things a lot more interesting. Or something like Jackass, where it's like, okay, the joke isn't just, Johnny Knoxville gets punched in the nuts. It's they go to such
yeah.
lengths to get punched in the nuts.
There's a
You
certain
know, it's not
there's a
that
craft for the setup.
like exactly like one of the best Jackass bits of all time is the fucking boxing match where the joke isn't just, oh, Johnny Knoxville gets the shit beat out of him by Butterbean. It's that they do it in the middle
Yeah.
of a department store. They just walk in there and a dude rings a bell and they wail on each other.
Well, yeah.
Really, Butterbean wails on him, but like the fact that they do it in there's that one extra level. It's not just ouch my balls. It's there's even one extra
Yeah.
level of depth. That's what makes it
And I
so
feel like with this movie, a
insanely
question that
hilarious.
should have been asked is
Whereas
if this
this,
weren't puppets, would it be funny?
yes,
If this was just
exactly,
a straight,
yes,
like, raunchy cop drama, if that's what you want to make, would it be funny without that, like, gimmick? And it doesn't seem like it is.
yeah, like because that's the thing is so much all the humor in this is like there's a few bits where it's just like almost the shock of it can
Yeah.
kind of get a chuckle. But then you get like,
Yeah.
it's Melissa McCarthy
Mm-hmm.
again, and she did drugs, which is funny because she's like fat and frumpy, and you wouldn't expect her to do drugs, and it's like, all right, all right, it's whatever. Maybe it'll
Mm-hmm.
surprise us and be the most thought provoking film
Yeah.
of 2018. Who knows? But yeah, at the very least, I think there's something to be said for like the technical
Yeah.
craft going
There,
into it,
there'll
even
be
if
something nice to
the
talk
jokes are
about
all pretty
towards the end
lackluster.
of that review.
Yeah, it'll be one of those weird like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, that happened kind of movies. But
Yeah.
yeah, Happy Time Murders. Yeah, yep,
Mm-hmm.
that's about it. Uh, and then also in May, another trailer we got, which I'm kind of surprised I didn't get for Deadpool as well, but I guess shouldn't be surprised because they are
Yeah.
technically competing studios. We got trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp,
Yeah.
which I remember thinking, and I know this is by no means an original opinion, walking out of Infinity War thinking, man, who the fuck is going to care about Ant-Man?
It's
And
it's in a weird place in the timeline.
yeah, it feels like the Tracy Ullman Simpsons short, you know? It's like here's like a little something in between the stuff that you actually came here to
Yeah.
see.
But like
And I don't know, I
I
guess
looked at it and I felt the same exact way that I did about Ant-Man 1, which is it's hard to make a sequel that gives you the same feeling that the first one did before you saw the first one, which is just I guess
hmm,
it looks fine. I'll see it.
yeah, like I
Yeah.
liked Ant-Man. I thought it was a fun movie. I think it's one of the better MCU movies. Admittedly, that I think is just because of like the visuals and how they get kind of creative with
Mm-hmm.
the
That's
action.
one thing is I think that they're doing a little bit even
Uh,
more with that in the second one. It looks like than they did in the first. It seems like they're like,
yeah,
okay, we introduced you to the
I
crazy
like
stuff, and a lot of magic has been tossed into this universe since then, so we can just show you anything at this point.
yeah. The one thing I do hope that they don't overplay is the whole like, oh, it's something tiny and harmless, but now it's big and
Yeah.
threatening the villain, like that whole gag. Because they had the bit with like the
Mm-hmm.
Thomas train set in the first one. And it's like that's funny. That's a cute, clever setup for the fucking final
Yeah.
fight scene of the movie. But then already in like the first trailer we got a while ago for this, it's like they're throwing like Hello
Mm-hmm.
Kitty around, and it's like, all right, you did
I
that.
think
I get it.
I
I'm not
think the
laughing,
thing to
but I get it.
focus on with this one is not so much like like small things becoming big, so much as like the level of complexity and like double shrinking and like change like basically remixing the size of everything around you. Um, like I couldn't quite
Yeah,
tell
I
if it
like
was
how
the
they're.
case, but there was the one scene where like the van is super tiny running away from the thing, and
Yeah, that
yeah,
that's
and it
that
seemed
sequence was
like I
really
couldn't
cool.
quite tell, but you get Ant-Man like jumping back to normal size in it, and it seems like he himself was even smaller within the already small car, and they were just trying to like see how small he could go within that. So I think it's going to be kind of like a levels thing, like an Inception, like Dream Levels type deal.
Yeah. One thing I like how they're incorporating uh Wasp into this because I feel like they'll have like a
Mm-hmm.
fun action dynamic. Just because that's one of the things I like about the characters like in the comics too is
Yeah,
they complement each other. You know, you got they got the same basic power set of shrinking and all that, but it's like one can fly on her own and has lasers. The other one has
yeah,
control over ants, and it's like realistically it would make sense to give both of them wings and lasers, but then realistically it would make sense for Tony
yeah.
Stark to build everybody an Iron Man suit. So fuck it. But no, the best part of this trailer, I gotta say, it's a low hanging fruit, but fuck, it made me laugh. Was just the bit where Paul Rudd and Lawrence Fishburne
Yeah.
are just comparing how big they got. It's like it's such a stupid joke, but goddamn, their delivery made it
It's
work.
just seeing Lawrence Fishburne, who's like very good as a dramatic actor, just take that part so seriously, like just react in awe. Yeah,
Just be fucking goofy. He's been stuck in the DCEU being fucking Perry White for the past like half a decade,
exactly.
and now he gets to do something fun that'll make money, something that'll make
Mm-hmm.
its budget back, and then some. He's probably so fucking happy to be in this movie. He doesn't have to tell Clark Kent to study the football team again.
I think the only thing that I can think of that he was like that I can imagine him being just as like delighted to be on is back when they had the Muppets mockumentary, he had like a cameo in one of the episodes on there where he was just like a sitcom arch nemesis to Kermit, and it just looked like he was
Oh
having a
yeah, that
fucking
show.
ball in that one little scene.
Oh man, Lawrence Fishburne. He deserves better.
Mm-hmm.
He seems like a nice
Yeah.
man. Nobody deserves to get saddled with
I
Justice
hope
League.
he's having fun with the John Wick series.
Then Similarly, in the same vein as Marvel heroes based off of things with multiple legs, it's a segue that works.
Sure.
We got another trailer for the animated Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man: End of the
Yes.
Spider-Verse, which is about Miles Morales. And goddamn, this looks cool. This looks so
I am
fucking
so
cool.
fucking hyped for this movie.
I'm so ready for this. I can't believe that a Sony Spider-Man film is arguably my most anticipated animated film of the year,
Yes.
aside from maybe Incredibles 2. This looks so cool. And this is where we begin our veritable like 3-day bukkake of animated
Yes.
trailers that we got just a week ago. But god damn, this
It
movie
looks
looks
so great.
slick.
And like, I don't know how many artists you follow on Twitter. I just kind of have to follow like as many as I can find.
I feel
Yeah.
like a lot, but it's probably a
hmm
drop in the bucket.
Um, and just listening to like everybody go insanely ham over this movie the second that the trailer came out, and like how much buzz is around it, like for both people outside of like the artist Twitter sphere and just beyond, is amazing. Um, I love that it's
Mm,
an American made movie that's doing like different styles aside from like the basic like CGI Disney Illumination. Well, Illumination's a bit more stylized, but
yeah.
just the fact that it's taking a much bigger risk with like style than like most animations in America tend to go. Like you'll see this kind of thing if you go outside of America sometimes of something that'll like kind of bend away from the styles that we're used to, but I think it's very important to have one that is American, and I want it to do really well so that more companies within America will do that. And just, God, I'm so excited for this movie.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. I feel like we're entering into like I feel like we're on the cusp of like a golden age of
Yeah.
computer generated animation in like big budget movies. Because for a while there, it was really just like
Mm-hmm.
your standard Pixar style, where it's like make a model, pose it, it's all good. But now you got movies like this. You got stuff like
Mm-hmm.
Captain Underpants, Charlie Brown, Lego Movie, all this stuff using, especially Hotel Transylvania, which I don't know,
Yeah.
that thing has like 50 fucking trailers, but I still have not seen one of those. They look cute though. But
I've seen the first two. They were cute.
yeah,
First one was especially surprisingly good.
I'd prefer a Popeye movie. I'm gonna be honest.
I mean, yeah, me too.
I prefer that Gendy Popeye, but
God,
but
that was so pretty too.
it was really good. And that's the thing is you got stuff like that where it's taking CGI just a step further by kind of regressing it. Using things like squatch and stretch and motion blur and all
Yeah,
that stuff that you
and
didn't
like
really get when CGI was an up and coming thing.
exactly. And this is like I love that it's not sneering at the other like animated forms. Like it's flattening, like it's renders, everything looks very like smooth and almost 2D. It's doing frames on like three or fours. It's just chopping it up like stop motion. It's taking all these things from different forms of animation that like work and just have like a unique feel to them and mashing them together, and it just looks beautiful.
It looks really cool. The one thing I'm not super hot about is I notice, at least in some screen grabs, there seems to be like this weird like 3D filter over it. Like not like a 3D like real D 3D blur, but like an old school like red and blue like layering effect.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks I don't notice it when I watch it in motion, but when I see it like paused, it looks real hard to look at. So hopefully that won't become too much in the movie
I
itself.
haven't actually noticed
But
that. Now I'll have to go back and watch it again.
that see that's almost the good thing because I'm if it's one of those like you don't even notice it but your brain did
Yeah.
bits, it's like that'll work out
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Uh, but yeah, no, I've got high hopes for this thing. We got what looks to be Ultimate Green Goblin in there. We
Mm-hmm.
got reveal of Spider Gwen, who I'm gonna be honest, I feel like is probably like the least interesting out of all the spider people they've introduced in the past couple of
See, I'm
years.
interested in her inclusion in this movie just because I want to know how the timelines all match up. Because, like, they could
Mm,
easily do the studio thing of, like, oh, it's the girl character. She's going to be, like, early 20s, standard early girl character. But given where Peter's at in the timeline, because he seems to be like, I want to say early 40s, maybe, charitably.
An old busted
Yeah.
hobo.
It would make sense to me if she were also at that level. And I feel like we don't see a lot of like middle-aged superheroes, and we don't
That
see
would
a
be
lot with like
interesting.
Spider-Gwen late into her career. I think that'd be really interesting to see, but we just don't know anything about her yet.
I know. I know some of the speculation I've been seeing is that they've got. There's a rumor floating around that what's his name? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Who was the guy that played Chuck?
Zachary Levi.
Zachary Levi. I'm pretty sure it was Zachary Levi. They said there's rumors that he plays Ultimate Peter Parker, who is killed when Miles gets his powers, like when he's fighting.
Oh, okay.
And then the old busted Peter Parker is like 616 Peter Parker, who ends up getting
Gotcha.
lost in the Ultimate Universe without a wallet or anything, which is why he looks so old and busted.
Right.
And he ends up having to train Miles to be that universe's new Spider-Man, which is it's
That's
an
pretty
interesting concept.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they go completely balls to the wall with the multiverse stuff in this
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know if you're familiar with the Spider-Verse storyline they did not too long ago in the comics.
Not very, actually. I'm normally up to date on a lot of Spider-Man stuff, but not Spider-Verse.
Gist of it is a bunch of psychic vampires started hopping across dimensions because they eat spider people. So
Interesting.
that yeah, so a bunch of Spider-Men got together and they're like, we need to help stop this, or else all the
Mm-hmm.
spider people will get eaten. And it was okay, depending on who you ask. I mean, Dan Slott wrote it, so it's like, eh. But the best part of it by far is seeing all the alternate universe Spider-Mans.
Mm-hmm.
So and like they didn't just do the normal like, oh look, it's 21.99 again. Oh look, it's Noir again.
Right.
You know, of course they showed up, but then you also get segments where it's like, oh, here's Hostess Fruit Pies Spider-Man. Here's Electric Company Spider-Man who speaks in fragmented sentences and keeps trying to teach everyone to spell.
Oh my god.
And it's like, here's Japanese Spider-Man. There's a moment in the comic where they're down on their luck and they're like, wait, what's that? And a giant fucking Megazord comes flying through the portal, piloted by Japanese Sentai Spider-Man,
Oh,
screaming
that's
that he's the
amazing.
emissary of hell. Yeah. And then they created more. There's a segment where Marvel vs. Capcom Spider-Man shows up, and it's a one-page comic of him getting killed by the psychic vampires, but it's framed in the same style as Marvel vs. Capcom with like health bars and
Holy
shit.
shit, I love that.
There's but then they made up their own Spider-Man too. So like there's one that's literally just Spider-Man, but it's an Evangelion mech. And it's called like SP like // dr.
Jesus.
And they've got probably my favorite one out of all of them is this Spider-Punk,
Spider-Punk.
who is Spider-Punk. He's Hobie Brown instead of Peter Parker. And his whole deal is that it's a Spider-Man suit, but he's got a spiked mohawk. He's got a torn up denim vest. He carries around a guitar. He wears chucks.
I love everything about this.
And he lives in a dystopian like punk universe where President Osborn has a super police force known as like VENOM. Like it's Venom is like the evil fascist super soldier serum.
Jesus Christ.
And they put out a single issue telling his story, and it was called The Anarchic Spider-Punk. It's fucking great.
I need to find this now.
And it's like I hope we get all of that stuff. Like I hope they go that deep with it. I hope we get Spider-Ham.
I
Peter
want
Porker,
Bagman.
the Amazing Spider-Ham. Get Bagman
just
in
at
there, get
least a cameo.
$29.99.
Just a real quick Bagman, and then I'll be sold.
Get Mangaverse Spider-Man, get Indian Spider-Man, get Monkey Spider-Man. Get all of them in there. Get all of the Spider-Men.
Yeah, so
I like that they're willing to be weird with
my
this.
two biggest hopes for this movie are that A, it does very well and it turns into franchise potential, and that they can make more of these with this Spider-Verse, and that B,
I'd be shocked if this did not make bank. The
Right?
the trailer for this has blown up.
I know. I hope that it inspires more companies to like branch out in their art styles and get a little weird with it. I think that they should do that much more often, and I think if this pays off, it'll show people that that can happen. Well, people with money, that that can happen. Uh,
Yeah.
and hopefully it'll lead to a new golden age in animation. Not to be too optimistic about it, but that's incredibly optimistic.
Yeah. No, I think that, I mean, what a rebound for Sony, oddly enough,
Right?
after putting out the Emoji Movie, and now they got this. It's like that's the strange thing is I feel like Sony is, knock on wood, starting to lose their place as the worst studio.
Who are they giving it up to, though, is the
I
question.
Warner Brothers.
Well,
Warner, definitely Warner Brothers. They don't know what to do with their DC superheroes, but then they never ever have.
or any of their properties. Um,
Yeah.
so Wreck It Ralph 2.
Wreck-It Ralph 2. Okay, all right, Chris, what do you think about Wreck-It Ralph 2?
Um, I think
How you feeling about this one?
my feelings on it are I don't know what to make of it through the trailer yet because much like the plot for Wreck It Ralph 1, I feel like the actual meat of the story was not accurately represented in the trailers. And I feel like what it is
That's
actually going to be
fair.
about is entirely different from just the like, oh, let's fun romp through some different worlds thing that both the trailer for the first one and this new trailer for the second one showed. I think we haven't seen what it's about yet.
That's a fair point because that's the thing. I'm gonna be honest. I think it looks outright bad.
That's fair.
Like I really really love the first Wreck-It
Mm-hmm.
Ralph. I think this one looks really terrible. It really just looks like Disney trying to suck its own dick, being like, look at us, we can literally make the Emoji Movie, and you guys will eat it up because Marvel Star Wars
I'm
princesses are in
hoping
it."
it's not just
And it's like,
because
eh.
I love the first one so much. And also, uh, while I can agree with you on that level of like in depth, it seems like they did a lot less reaching out than they did for the first one in terms of like video game characters. Um, I will
Yeah,
say the actual
I'm
models
wondering
that
if
they
it's
made for the
like,
new princesses look amazing.
they look very good.
And if they
Yes.
were just like, hey, we're gonna make 3D movies of our old 2D princesses, if they were gonna use something like that, I'd be like, yeah, okay, sure, show me what you
I'd
got.
be down with a movie that finally connects the whole like uh fucking, I hate the whole term cinematic universe. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
like the worst. I think it's a plague on modern movies. But I'll be honest, I would watch the shit out of like a Disney Princess Avengers movie where it's like,
Right?
oh,
Just
guess
all of
what?
them together.
Fucking Ariel meets Mulan meets Rapunzel meets everybody.
Yeah,
And they
just
all
like a
come
House of
together.
Mouse, but for like the princesses.
Yeah. Fucking House of Mouse would do so well nowadays. It would do so
Exactly.
fucking well. It would do insanely well. But yeah, no, like that's the thing is I feel like the first Wreck-It Ralph,
Mm-hmm.
the references were fun because I remember that came out when I was in high school,
Yeah.
and that was kind of that was a big deal for me. Is because I was like, oh, holy shit, I'm seeing stuff like, Street Fighter and Metal Gear Solid and
Mm-hmm.
all this getting referenced in a major movie by Disney, and whoa, this is crazy. And now it's like, yeah, video games are fucking everywhere. Everybody knows video games.
Mm-hmm.
But and the thing is like the references in that one, not only were they not really essential to the plot,
Mm-hmm.
but they also felt kind of timeless. Like they almost felt dated in the right way.
Yeah.
Like I think the most recent video game they reference in that is Metal Gear Solid, and it's like, aside from that, it's like not only stuff that works in the arcade setting. You got references to like Joust and Frogger and
Yeah.
Cubert and all that, but it's also video games that everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
There's Bowser, there's Eggman,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera, et cetera. There's Zangief and M Bison, and like it, like a lot of people actually complained about the first one. They're like, it was more about candy than it was about video games. And
I
like
guess, but
with
like,
this
if
one,
you're going there just to see the video game references, like, it's not.
yeah. Like I will kind of agree that I still think like the best part of Wreck-It Ralph is the first part,
Okay.
but also I also feel like that's kind of the way things go with those kind of movies where it's like the best part of the movie is the part where they're introducing you to this new and imaginative
Mm-hmm.
world, and once it becomes like movie where we need to accomplish thing, then it's like, ah, but I want to explore.
Yeah.
You know, I want to run. I want to run around the water park. I don't want to read the book.
Mm-hmm.
But no. But then with this one, it feels really obvious that it's being written by like older dudes, where it's like, oh, get it?
Yeah.
Twitter is a bunch of birds in a tree because it's
There's
Twitter, and
also
it's like,
like
ugh.
there's a level of like displacement, I guess, in that like they want to showcase the internet, but they can't in a Disney
The
movie.
internet is a fucking cesspool. Like, and that's the thing. This is something that I've been saying about a lot of stuff that tries to do like capture like hip nerd culture and stuff. Like it's the same problem with like Big
Mm-hmm.
Bang Theory. Like nerd culture shit revolves around like negativity and profanity and porn and drugs and junk
Yeah.
food and grease and body fluids and just unpleasant
Mm-hmm.
shit, you know? Everybody's saying like, "Oh, are they gonna go to fucking 4chan? Is Wreck It Ralph gonna browse Co and V? You know, are they gonna go to Shadbase? Are they gonna go to Pornhub? Like,
I
because
could see
the
like
whole
winks
thing
and
is, it feels
I could see like winks and nods to things like they almost walk through a door, then get distracted and go elsewhere.
yeah, yeah, like they go past like a red light
Mm-hmm.
district or something like that. He's like, "Oh, you don't want to go in there, kid," you know, like shit like that. It's like there'll probably be like one or two of those jokes for the parents, but then like it really doesn't help the movie feel less like self-filleting when it's like, whoa, take us to the best part
Mm-hmm.
of the internet. And it's like, oh, where's it going to take them? Like, is it going to take them to, you know, YouTube, where it's like the biggest modern
Mm-hmm.
entertainment platform of all time, you know? Is it going to take them to Steam? Is Wreck It Ralph going to, you know, play some
Mm-hmm.
online video games? It's like, no, it takes them to fucking the Disney
See,
BuzzFeed branch.
there was that one scene at the very end of it that confuses me as to what the like if there's going to be some sort of meta narrative or if they just made up like a scene for the trailer. Which is
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that
where he's
part.
arguing with the person that is definitely going to be the villain. Um,
Do you know what that character's name is?
no,
That character's name is literally Yes with like five S's.
that makes sense. Uh,
Yeah, get it? Because she's from the
but
internet.
like the fact that they're arguing about the title of it means that either they just made up that scene for the trailer, which I can understand, or that the actual concept of like the name of the movie Ralph Breaks the Internet being like a thing within the narrative, do they get their own web page? Are they talking about the movie that came out and he finds out that he's a movie within the Disney canon? Like how does this work?
Okay, that'd be
Yeah,
fucking
where does that
incredible. I
go?
don't think they're gonna do it, but
The
that'd be
fact that that
fucking
scene is in
amazing if they
there makes
decided
me
to.
think like what are they going to do with that? What is that going to be?
Because I'm gonna be honest, I do hate the title to this
And they
movie.
discussed that.
The whole Ralph breaks the internet thing, because that's the thing too, is it's not all like, and I get like the ha 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 justification where they're like they're calling attention to it like, ah, Ralph wrecks the internet, wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
that make more sense? And she's like, yeah, but break the internet is a thing. It's like, no, it isn't. It was a thing like 4 years ago when Kim Kardashian's ass was on Empire magazine. Like that's what you're
Yeah.
referencing. That's the hot meme that you're building this entire movie's marketing
And
around.
see, I like that the way that that
And
scene
it's
is
like,
framed is
eh.
that you very much don't agree with the marketing of the film or her character. You agree with Ralph and Vanellope.
That's the thing. That's the one thing that I think could potentially save this movie is if the whole like underlying theme of it is like internet viral marketing is trash.
I would be very happy about that.
Like the whole, if it's something like that where it's literally just them being like, "Hey, can you believe Disney let us put up like a giant middle finger to everything Disney's been doing for the past couple years?" Like That'd be awesome. I'd be in full support of that. But
If it completely acknowledges
oh
that
boy,
what's
does this
happening
trailer
here is
look
very
rough.
much a how do you do, fellow kids, and like they know it, and that's the joke, then I think that could work a little better.
That's like that's the only bit of hope I have for it is if that does turn out to be the
Hmm.
whole crux of the movie. But well, speaking of, I know you mentioned the princess bit. What did you think about that
Um,
scene in the trailer?
I mean, it was fine. I think it was a little bit too quick to get a handle on like what that whole little bit is going to be about because I've seen more scenes with it, and it seems like it's less of a cameo and more that they're like minor parts in the movie, kind of in the way that Cubert was in the first one. Just from just still images that I've seen, is like
Mm,
you see more of them. Um,
that makes sense if they're going to go through the trouble to
yeah.
get like all of the voice
So I'm
actresses
wondering
back.
what that's going to be, but right there, that seemed like more of an introduction bit rather than anything like substantial for like a joke. And it makes more sense if they're a minor bit, and that is just the introduction to
Yeah,
all of them to the character.
I gotta say, I feel like it was trying a bit too hard with like the whole like, oh, do people assume that you only matter because a big strong man came around? And it's like, I get what you're saying, but also I feel like you picked probably the worst characters to convey that narrative.
I forget which characters even said that.
Like I think it was Rapunzel, which is like the most egregious one, considering that the quote unquote big strong man in her story literally died to save her
Yeah,
before she brought him back. And it's like looking at all those characters, the only one that could actually say that and not come off like kind of a jerk is Merida. Whereas everybody else, their whole movie was like them working together, or in the case of like the old characters, it's like, yes, we're a legitimate damsel in distress, but also those are old ass movies. It was a different
yeah.
time.
I
We've
feel like
evolved since
if
then.
they were going to pick ones to say that, I feel like it should have been like Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. Like then there'd be more of a point in those characters saying it.
That'd be kind of interesting because I feel like the modern characterizations of those older characters who didn't really have much of a
Hmm.
characterization back in the day, because the whole novel concept was like it's animated people singing and
Hmm.
dancing, and it's like that was something that I really liked about that whole dark era where everything was getting direct to video sequels. Uh, the best one out of all of them, and I've had multiple conversations with our buddy Dan about this.
Is it the third
Uh,
Cinderella?
it's the third fucking
Of
Cinderella,
course, it's the
Cinderella
third
3, A
Cinderella.
Twist in Time. Like, can you believe that out of the Cinderella trilogy, first of all, the best one is the one involving time travel. Like that's remarkable. And I love that it characterizes all of them where it's like, okay, Cinderella is still very like concerned about everybody's well-being,
Hmm.
still a little bit put upon, but like has some degree of agency without feeling like a complete departure.
Right.
And then it's like the one stepsister actually gets a little bit of an arc over the
Hmm.
course of three fucking Cinderella movies
Yeah,
in the
she
Cinderella
has a
trilogy.
3 movie redemption arc.
She's the Kylo Ren of the Cinderella
Hmm.
cinematic universe, really. And then also, I love how they're like, oh, and the prince, he's kind of like a well-meaning idiot.
Okay, what they did to the prince was exactly like what they have to do when they have to reinvent old characters over and over again. Like Fred from Scooby Doo, same exact thing. They just have to make him weird and dumb and nice,
Yeah. And it's
and it
it's like, why did
works.
they end up together? And it's like because she can kind of handle like you get the impression she's good at like micromanaging. Like she'd be the one that like handles their taxes each year,
Yes.
but he's the one that would be like, put down the books, let's go ride roller coasters. And it's
Hmm.
like they end up being perfect for each other.
Yeah.
And it's like that's hilarious. I love that. I love the idea of a like handsome, buff, awesome, rich prince who is also like a fucking weirdo. He's kind of an idiot,
Hmm.
and it's very clear that if he wasn't super good looking, no one else would really want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
But he's just the right kind of eccentric for the main heroine. I
Speaking
love
of
that.
eccentric, nice, dumb leading men, Lego Movie 2.
Lego Movie 2. Yes. What a good goddamn, we're getting good at this segue
Right?
shit.
I was
Yeah,
waiting
no,
for one
Lego
and I
Movie
saw it
2.
right there.
I gotta say, I feel like Lego Movie 2 sets up what Wreck-It Ralph tried to do, but feels a lot more genuine
Yes.
with it in terms of the whole like we're going to lampshade our gender roles
Mm-hmm.
thing. Because I don't know if how familiar you are with Lego,
I'm
but
not, but luckily, my roommate is and pointed out just what kind of, I guess, person under the Lego verse the quote unquote villain is.
yes, the new character, presumably at least for now, a villain, is a mini doll, which is
Mm-hmm.
the company term for the girl
Yes.
Legos. You know, your Lego friends, your DC superhero girls, your Disney princesses, ironically enough, where it's not quite as stubby and block like as your usual Lego people.
Yes.
Uh, they got more of a dollish design, but they could still snap onto Lego bits.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, I remember browsing through Co and seeing a bunch of people getting really butt blasted about this, being like, "Oh, fucking hapless male, the stupid shitty
Yeah.
movie." And it's like it's so clear that the whole thing they're setting up is the villain is being controlled by the little sister from the
Mm-hmm.
first movie. And the whole thing is that the bad guy assumes that just because Emmett didn't kick the most ass, that he didn't deserve to have
Mm-hmm.
top billing. Even though he did save the day in the first one despite not kicking the most ass.
It seems like
And it's like
they're
that's the
blasting
whole
like
point.
the 90s like girl power. The only way a girl can be cool is if she's a badass, like Joss Whedon style thing.
Yes.
Uh,
I like that they're not even that they're making fun of it, but that they're addressing it in a really surprisingly nuanced way.
I feel like it's a good skewering of like the concept of like a strong female lead, and that the only way that a strong female lead can be strong is by acting traditionally masculine. Um,
Yeah.
and it's completely ignoring the fact that what he does in the first film is save the day via compassion, which is traditionally viewed as feminine. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that that's a good angle to take for like the Lego narrative. I'm interested in what the like real world narrative is going to be because it's got to be something involving the kid and his sister. Um, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering how those two connect.
Maybe it's a time skip. Maybe the sister's older and she's getting into the adolescent feminism phase where it's like I don't really understand what this is, but girl, I'm angry about it. But who knows what they could be doing with it? They could take it in a lot of directions. Uh, yeah, I really like that. Like I'm gonna admit I was worried a little bit when I heard Lord and Miller aren't going to be directing it. Also, the theme is going to be about gender roles, and I went, "Ooh boy, ooh, okay, And now we got this trailer, and it really does look like a ton of
Mm-hmm.
fun. You wouldn't know that Lord and Miller aren't back. I think they're still consulting it or producing
Yeah,
it or
I'm pretty sure
something.
I saw their names
But
still on it.
yeah, and I don't know. It feels very relevant nowadays, especially in a film targeted to
Mm-hmm.
children, because it feels like there's a very big push in the same way that like you said back in the 90s we had the like girl power. They're girls, but they're also tough. Whoa, and it's like it feels like the same thing nowadays, but in like a less like 90s edge kind of way and more in like a I don't know, more in like a nose in the air kind of way, where it's like I don't know if this is the best example, but something like Star Wars, where it's like we've put 5 women in this movie. You may applaud when you're ready, and it's like, okay, but what do they do? And it's like, well, this one's the protagonist, but we don't really give her much to do, and the others don't do anything at all, but they're there. And it's like, okay, great, cool. There's a reason why nobody's buying Admiral Holdo action figures. There's a reason why those are going to be on the clearance shelf well before Toys R Us closes its doors for good. You know, and I think that like especially the first Lego movie was really good with its
Mm-hmm.
portrayal of that kind of thing. Where they were even making fun of that in the first one, where it's like the whole scene where he meets her for the first time is great. Where it's like who are you? My name's Wild Style. He's like, oh really? Are you like a DJ or something? And then they reveal like, oh no, her name is Lucy, and that's like her emo like it's not a phase mom
Mm-hmm.
nickname that
I
she
hope they do
invented for
more with her
herself.
character because it very much seemed like in the first movie, they had ideas with that character, and it went like they did a few things with it, but it also kind of felt like it was an intentionally horned in thing by the producers that Lord and Miller did something with.
Yeah, like it felt like she had the first Lego movie had a lot going on in it.
It did.
Now that I think about it, like holy shit, there's a part where they're under the water and they go to the Wild West, and also Batman's there, and there's a Billy D. Williams cameo, and there's a lot of shit going on in the Lego movie. But this does look like a prime, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Opportunity for them to develop uh, not only Emmett and probably I mean Batman's probably not going to get much because he's had his own movie
Probably
at this
not.
point.
I'm also interested
But
in seeing how much they reference from the Lego Batman movie, whether that's like recursively canon within this too.
I hope it's canon. I really hope it's
That'd be nice.
canon because I love the Batman. I love the Lego
Because they
Batman
seem to
movie.
do like a wink and a nod to the fact that it is in the same canon in the Lego Batman movie, and they just don't bring it up that much.
Yeah,
But
because it at least functions the same
yeah,
way.
so I'm wondering if it isn't in fact the same thing. Like at the very least, he'll like have an offhanded thing of like, "Oh well, I had my own movie. My name was on it. Was your name on your movie?"
I feel like if they could lock down Michael Cera to show up as Robin, even for a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, that'd bring the kids in for sure. Lego movie blew the fuck up. Lego Batman movie also blew
It
the fuck
did.
up. Ninjago movie, eh. I've yet to see that, but it's got some really cool looking mechs in it.
It was fun. It's definitely the weaker or the weakest of the three.
The one that's more for
Yeah.
kids.
It had like an okay narrative. It wasn't like it didn't have the same like snap to it. Like it felt like there were like a little like missed beats
Mm,
somewhere along the way in the narrative. Uh, and it's not that it was
yeah,
like bad. It's just that it's more noticeable when you have it like stacked up against the Lego Batman movie and the Lego movie. Yeah.
right. That's the thing is I remember like when that whole Ninjago thing first came out, all I could think was like, oh, I'm in like high school, so I don't care about this. But if this came out when I was like 7, this would be all
Oh,
I talked
absolutely.
about. It's Lego ninjas who fight skeletons in giant mechs and ride dragons and
Hmm.
shoot lasers, and also one is a
Yes.
robot. And it's like, goddamn. When Lego throws all their shit at the wall to see what'll stick, they go all
Hmm.
in. They get in there.
Um,
But yeah, Lego Movie. I think it's called the second part, right?
yes.
Yeah, Lego Movie, the second part. Looks interesting.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's as good as the first one because I remember really loving that first
Hmm.
one. Uh,
Next up,
but
How to Train
yeah,
Your
and
Dragon
then
3.
we got How to Train Your Dragon 3. Now I haven't seen the second one yet.
I have.
I still got to check that one out. How was it? I've heard
I
it's good.
liked it. I think I had some like minor gripes with it when I watched it, but that was also like the year it came out, so I don't remember what they are anymore. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, uh, I am interested in where they're going to go with this movie. I think I kind of already figured out the basic premise of how it's going to shake out. Because the trailer is one of those like tells you a lot of it
it's
deals.
gonna end with something dark.
Um,
Yeah.
I like that they're using the line from the book.
Oh yeah. Because that's the thing. I
which
never read the books either. Was that like the whole when I was a boy there were dragons
yeah, that's
thing?
like the first line in the first book.
Oh, okay.
And
All
there's
right
like
then.
13 of them, like some ridiculously high number. And
Ooh.
all of them are just how they get to that point. Um, and I don't
Oh,
know how to
okay.
do it in the books. I didn't read them. But I can imagine it was in much a similar way. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, my main interest is that, like, I don't know whether it's just misplaced because it's from the original narrative and not this one, but the way that that line is framed in the trailer, it sounds like the humans, including Hiccup's tribe, are not connected to the dragons anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, later in the
Like
trailer, it makes it sound like they're going with the dragons. So I'm confused as to where that breaks off. I think that's the most
that's the
interesting
thing.
little, like, tidbit there for me.
I think the hardest thing this movie has is dealing with the fact that it is a movie about a dude and his pet. And it's like, boy, I wonder how this is going to end.
Yeah,
They keep saying this is the last one. There were dragons when I was a boy. It's like either they're all going to fucking die or they're all going to go live in Dragonland.
and I'm fairly certain it's obviously the second one, but
Yeah, it's like it's gonna have a bittersweet, sad little
Mhm.
ending. It's gonna have the Toy Story 3 ending
Yes.
where Hiccup has to say "see you around, partner," and then they ride off into the
Hmm.
sunset. I still found it pretty funny to hear Jay Baruchel's voice being like, "When I was a boy," it's like, man, you're a boy now.
He's like late,
How old is Jay
early
Baruchel?
30s,
I
I
feel like
think.
he's far older
He's early 30s for sure.
than
Well, not for sure. He could also be late 20s. I don't know.
he is. 36
Holy
years
shit.
old.
Dude's got a youthful face.
Yeah, a youthful
Yes.
voice.
He's going to be in season 5
But
of Letterkenny if anybody listening watches that. Letterkenny is
ooh,
great. You should
I
watch
think
it.
that just got picked up by Netflix, didn't it?
Did it?
I think it did, if
I
I'm not
fucking hope it
mistaken. I
did.
mean,
I've been trying to find places to watch it legally for like a long time. Because
let's
there's not
see.
there's not an option in the states, or at least there hasn't been. But I really hope so. I realize that that is TV and that is not on our docket. That we've gotten through about a fifth of, and we're an hour and a half in.
A
Once again, always short and concise.
well, the trailer part is always pretty dense, but
Mm-hmm.
now we get to move on to the movies we actually watched this
Yes.
past month. Uh, and just like as was established in the last episode where we talked about Infinity War, uh, pretty much just going to briefly mention everything I watched, but then go more in depth on one specific movie that we really want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so for me, this past month, I ended up going out to see Deadpool 2. Liked that one a lot, actually. I think it was better than the first one. Had some good bits. It's been out for a while, so spoiler alert, but I like the Juggernaut.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I've also read enough
Oh, shit, I'm
spoilers.
sorry.
No, I've also read
Oh,
enough
okay, good.
spoilers to know basically everything that happens, so you're fine.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, no, I like that we finally got
But if you give me
uh
spoilers for Haunters, then I'm gonna be mad.
oh man, no, that one though. Yeah, no, I watched Deadpool 2, which I liked that one, liked it more than the
Hmm.
original. Has a really, really, really good soundtrack. Like really good soundtrack. We got, you got Dolly Parton, you got an unplugged version of
I
Take
was
on
gonna say I
Me.
heard about the unplugged version of Take on Me, and that's the only thing that I heard musically about this movie.
It's it is the first time I've ever heard Take on Me and went, "Man, that's really beautiful."
All right,
It's used really, really
good.
effectively. Deadpool 2. Check it out. Like you just said, I watched a documentary on Netflix called Haunters: Art of the Scare.
Which I now have to watch.
Because I really fucking love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. I love haunted houses. When I worked at the
Mm-hmm.
summer camp, I would build a haunted house in the school library and scare the fuck
And it
out
was
of
your
little
favorite
children when
part.
we did Halloween Day. It was my favorite part of the entire summer. It was so good. I love it. Honestly, like building a haunted house would be like my dream job. If I could do that year round and just think of ways to scare the shit out of people, gold. I love it. I love the live special effects. I love
If
the
you figure out how to do that, I will leave this industry today.
Oh man, no, fuck it. Did I tell you about the last haunted house I made for that camp?
Yes.
Yeah. Basically, I figured it was going to be my last year, so I said, "Fuck it. If parents want to complain, come at me." And I took my weighted training clothes off, and I just said, "Fuck it. I'm going to make it as scary as possible."
Uh-huh.
So, like, one of the
In
things
your
I
broccoli
did,
moments.
yeah, it, the weights hit the sand, the second that door closed,
Mm-hmm.
and like, oh man, like I had a TV set up where I put it on like channel 4 or whatever, so it looked like a black screen, and then I hid the remote inside of a book because I was making this on a budget of $20, by the way. Uh, and I hid the TV remote in a big dictionary, and then I had a flashlight and I was waving it around while telling a ghost story to distract the kids from my other hand that was going into the dictionary where the remote
Mm-hmm.
was. And then I would hit the channel that I would explain to them like, "Oh yeah, the library burned down years ago after lightning struck it and caused an electrical fire, but they've since turned off the power, so I think we should be fine." And that's when I hit the channel down button and change it to just pure static, and it lights up the room and fills the entire library with white noise. Man, oh, it was so good. It was so fucking good. But this was a whole documentary about building stuff a little bit more advanced than that, a little bigger
Mm-hmm.
than that. Um, they talk to this dude who made this haunted attraction called, I don't know if you've ever heard of McKamey Manor.
No.
Okay, basically it's this place where you have to sign a number of waivers and like do an interview to make sure that you're
Okay.
sound to participate in it, and basically they just kidnap you and fucking torture you for a couple
Jesus.
hours. Like people get like waterboarded and they get sealed inside of a coffin, uh like made to eat things, and then if they vomit it up they're made to eat that, like fucked up
Jesus
stuff, not
Christ.
just, yeah, no, it's actually, you could actually find videos of people going through this on YouTube. Like the dude, that's the whole thing that's suspicious. This dude reminds me of like, imagine like if Ned Flanders had the build of Hank Hill.
Okay.
Like that's the dude who runs this thing. And they ask him, they're like, "Would you ever go through this?" And he's like, "Heck no, I wouldn't, because I'm smart." And they're like, "Why are you so obsessed with this?" And he's like, "Well, because," and then he turns into fucking Jack Nicholson in Batman. He's just like, "Well, because I'm an artist, I'm a filmmaker, and I need to get that footage. When I could see real fear in people, that's what
Is
makes the
this
footage." And it's
I just
fucking
want to put
terrifying.
you know of the video game Manhunt, right?
Yes.
Cuz this is the plot of Manhunt.
Oh, it's some like, no, that's the thing, is he puts it on YouTube. I am convinced this dude is selling the raw footage to people on like the dark net, because
Jesus. Oh
it's
god.
literally one notch away from just being a snuff film. Like the only difference between this shit and a snuff film is that the people don't get killed.
Yeah.
And then they check in with him throughout the documentary, and he's like hiring new people because he's looking to expand his operation, and they're all like ex-military people who have, as he describes, flexible morals and have no qualms with forcing people to do
Mhm.
things. And like, it's a weird fucking transition because like one part of the documentary they mention, they talk to one dude who was in the Air Force who built a haunted house in like Kuwait or whatever.
Mhm.
And like the whole point was where he was like, it's fun because when you're in a war zone, your adrenaline is constantly going, so it can be fun to just kind of go through a haunted house, get that same sort of adrenaline rush, but also you know that you're not going to get blown up by an
Mhm.
IED. You know that the dude jumping out at you is a guy in a Jason mask waving a cowbell in your face, not, someone who legitimately wants to kill you. So it's almost a
Mhm.
comforting thing. And it's like that's really kind of sweet. That's a really cool like meaning
Yeah.
behind it.
It's a safe environment to experience danger.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you cut back to this dude, and they're interviewing the people that he's like looking to hire, and he's like, and one of them is this big dude with a big beard, and he's like, I went through McKamey Manor, and I knew immediately I had to get involved because just I went through it, and the rush I could get from making people go through what I went through, the power over them, and it's like, holy fuck, dude.
Do not hire that man.
It's like, don't, and he's like, I think you're perfect for the job. Come here, you.
Jesus.
And it's like, oh my god, like there's something fishy going on. And then there's this other dude who looks like the main guy from Smash Mouth, and he always wears sunglasses. And it's kind of a dick move because
Mark, I just want to have a quick sidebar here. I just want to take you around to like any crowded thing and have you just point at people and go, you know what that person looks like?
That's what I do.
Just for like an hour. That would be a great night.
Oh man, if I ever come out to California, if you ever come back to TR, that's gonna be a video. We're gonna get the camera and we're gonna go people watching for like an hour.
Oh god,
and we're
I think that's illegal, but okay.
Yeah, it might be. But you know what's not illegal? McKamey Manor, apparently. But no, they talked to this one dude who looks like the front man for Smash Mouth, and he always wears sunglasses. He wears sunglasses at night. He wears them indoors. He wears them when he's sleeping. And it feels like a bit of a dick move because they then later tell you like, oh, this guy's got an issue with his eyes where his pupils are permanently dilated.
Got it.
So this is the only way that he can't suffer like light migraines. Is he has to always be wearing dark tinted sunglasses, or else the light will affect him too much and it'll cause like migraines and shit. And it's like, oh, okay.
I don't know if I definitely haven't told you this, but the person that I'm dating now, she has epilepsy, so she does have to wear sunglasses whenever she goes to see movies that might flash or just be outside.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so I can kind of understand that. Yeah.
And like this dude he's like the counterpoint to the whole McKamey Manor thing, where he's like, I do this independently. He's like, I put a couple $1,000s into this each year because I love doing it. And he's like, this McKamey Manor shit is dangerous because when eventually someone is going to get killed doing one of these extreme haunts, and then the government's going to try and regulate us, and then I'm not going to be able to do what I like to do. He's like, I build a maze in my parents' driveway and fill it with people in makeup and costumes. And they go in for $10 on Halloween. We do it one night only. And they bring the trick-or-treaters in and we jump out and they go, blah, and everybody has a great time. These people are throwing people in the back of vans and waterboarding them for 6 hours. There's a difference.
I mean, yeah.
And this dude is also where I was enjoying some lovely Jameson while watching this, and I got very, very invested in this dude's story because the whole time
I saw your tweets about this part.
I told you about this. They keep cutting back to his wife, who is not down with his penchant for Halloween, and every single time they bring her on, she like belittles it and makes fun of it, and she's like, there's a part where like they're following him around as he's building it, and he's like, yep, it's another late night, and he's like, looks at his phone, he's like, yep, come back within the hour or don't come back at all. Yep, that again.
Jesus.
And shit, and it's like this poor dude where they first introduce him, and it's like, this guy
is dark in a different way.
Yeah, it's like this dude looks like Smash Mouth, and he's building a haunted house in his parents' driveway because he doesn't have the space for it. And then it's like, man, you need a hug and a better woman. I support what you're doing wholeheartedly.
And maybe a Kickstarter. Like, we're gonna get you a bigger space, man.
I should look this dude up and see what he's like done with himself, because then they had a little bit at the end where it's like, where are they now? And it's like, apparently he's getting more work in like the special effects industry.
Oh, that's
and his
nice.
wife is more supportive of him, but you also kind of get the impression that his wife is more supportive of him because it means he's bringing in more money. And it's like, yes, but also, can you not just support the fact that he likes to spend like a month making people happy? Like, no, but Haunters, Art of the Scare, it's on Netflix.
Right.
Very cool documentary. I also watched Pan's Labyrinth the other day for the first time. That movie's a fucking masterpiece. It's gorgeous.
It's fantastic.
Honestly, what can I say about it that hasn't already been said?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
one of, if not Del Toro's best.
it's big old Guillermo's wacky ride. I love it. I love Guillermo del Toro. Great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I also watched Thor Ragnarok the other day because I was procrastinating
Me
and
too,
looking for
weirdly
some
enough.
background noise. Yeah. No, I was looking to clean my place up because I'm having people over for E3,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I should put something on to to clean to just for some background noise, and I put on Thor Ragnarok because I saw it was on
Mm-hmm.
Netflix, and I went, well, the first like 20 minutes where he's in Asgard and he's fighting Mr. Krabs and everything, that part's great. I'm gonna sit down and watch that part because it's hard to find that bit on YouTube. And then it was like 2 hours later, and I was like, fuck, I was supposed to start cleaning.
It's really good though. It's
And
got such a strong style.
it's it's much better than I remember it. Actually, it very much improved on a second
Mm-hmm.
viewing for me. Because my first kind of issue with it when I first saw it in the theater was that it felt like Taika Waititi and Marvel wanted to make two different
Yeah.
movies. Like it felt like he wanted to make like a wacky cosmic comedy where Thor and the Hulk are trapped on
Mm-hmm.
Gladiator World, and then Disney was like, okay, you can do that, but also you need to make a preamble for Infinity
Yeah.
War. So all the Asgard stuff is dead serious, and all the Sakaar stuff is super
Mm-hmm.
wacky, and it didn't mesh very well. But it's I think it's now that I kind of knew what to expect. It all flows a lot better, and Jeff Goldblum is fucking
Yeah, and
fantastic
I
in
think
it.
at least when watching the Hela scenes, they are a lot more serious, but you can still get that little glint of humor in just the way that she is like a serious villain.
Yeah, Kate Blanchett did a really
Yeah.
good job in that role. She was excellent, and there was I think that the expectations really does uh, help
Mm-hmm.
acclimate you to it because I remember too when I had seen it we were waiting around like you get the mid credit scene where Thanos' ship shows up and it's like oh boy and then you wait for the end credit scene and it's like oh well, what are they gonna do with it now and it's just a little bit of
Yep.
Jeff
Which,
Goldblum
like, what else would you
and
want?
I remember at the time yeah I saw it with James
Mm-hmm.
and Megan at the time who shout out to them.
Oh yeah, and their recent
Uh,
engagement.
gotta be, yeah, getting
Fucking finally,
engaged.
you guys.
Unless he wanted to say that, in which case, ignore what I just said. But yeah, they're gonna be streaming stuff soon. I'll be sure to
Yeah.
plug them at the end of this too. But um, but no, I remember seeing it with them, and the last part of it was just a bit of Jeff Goldblum, and I remember they were like, and I was sitting there like ah, like full on
Good.
sideshow Bob in the movie theater laughing at it. And it's like that bit just gets fucking funnier on repeat viewings. Just well, it's a tie. Hard cut to black, and it's like great,
Yes.
great, best way to end your movie. But yeah, no, Thor Ragnarok is fucking fun. It's great. It's one of the best MCU movies, I think.
Right.
What a turnaround for Thor. Went from being the de facto worst part of the entire MCU
Hawkeye.
to being the de facto best Avenger. Ah, Hawkeye was good. Hawkeye was the best thing about Age of Ultron, which ironically is not a backhanded compliment.
I mean, yeah. Um, but also like I think I view Hawkeye just because I like knowing the Hawkeye comics how good he could be throughout the entirety of it and how
Mm,
not good he is by
I feel
comparison.
that.
Um,
That ironically, that was kind of my thing with Thor for a while.
yes.
Is because I remember after Infinity War, fucking Free Comic Book Day came around. I went out and got myself some Thor. I got myself some Doctor Strange. These are characters I'd never really been that
Mm-hmm.
interested in. That I knew of, but I was never that into beyond like out of context comic panels that I would see posted on
Yes.
Facebook. Like you got like that classic like on this day I'm offered a creamsicle, or shit like that, where I'm like Thor should be fun, but not in the way they're trying to
Yeah.
make him fun. Where it felt like they were trying to make him like, oh, what if he's a big dumb jock, and every time he walks in, he's like, oh, is this thing like this thing? And it's like, no, it isn't
Mm-hmm.
Thor, but oh, you. And now with Ragnarok, they finally gave that up. where now it's like he's a big dumb idiot, but also he's got a lot of life experience and he's done way more than Loki did. And Loki, like that's my favorite thing about that whole movie
Yes.
is the Thor Loki dynamic. Just because there's that great scene where Loki's ready to betray him yet again,
Mm-hmm.
and Thor totally calls him out on it. And it lays it bare for the audience. It's like Loki seems really cool and enlightened by his own intelligence, but literally what has he done? Like all he's done is fuck up and fail every single time he's tried to do anything. Meanwhile, Thor is maybe not the most book smart, but he's got a lot of notches in his belt in terms of actually succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
And all Loki has is his one gimmick, which is be tricksy.
Yeah. And if you're expecting that, then you can kind of time it.
Yeah. Like I really love it. Felt really surprisingly real for Thor, and I love that sort of laid the groundwork for the character he'd become in Infinity War, which incidentally you saw Infinity War.
Yes, I did see Infinity War.
What'd you think about Infinity War?
Let me pull up my notes. I thought it was appropriately dark. I've also read your review. I thought the character death was a bit
I
drawn out at the end, but I feel like that's kind of the point, is to give like each one of them
Yeah.
enough moments of weight to their like whole dusting, for like people who care about that character the most. I tried to look at it as of like, okay, well, I'm not the biggest fan of that character, but some people are, and that's their moment to be like, oh fuck, dude. So I tried to have that like thing, and like, oh, this is taking a while. Um, and just with like the character death in general, even with the understanding that everybody's like, okay, these aren't permanent, aside from like Heimdall and maybe Loki, and probably not Loki. Uh,
Well, that's the thing. I remember seeing it like in the theater opening weekend. It's like Loki ain't
yeah,
dead.
he's died so many
Loki
times
is
that you're
pulling a
like,
long con.
nah.
Like they establish in Ragnarok that like Loki's clever, but he's only clever in one way, so he's really kind of a
Yes.
dumbass. And it's like I feel like it would be a little bit regressive of them to be like, oh, Loki's playing
Mm-hmm.
dimensional chess and he's gonna get fucked over
Yeah.
again. And it's like he ain't dead.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't dead. As long as there are fangirls alive and breathing, Hiddleston is going to be in the
Uh,
MCU.
but yeah, it's not so much that they did die, so much as that they have to go through that at all.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
like
the
watching
journey, not the
Spider-Man,
destination.
even knowing that Spider-Man's gonna come back, you still see that and you're like, fuck, dude, this kid's a
Just
kid.
a boy. Yeah. Honestly, I think the two that hit me harder than Spider-Man, but for different reasons, I think fucking Groot's was sadder, even before
Yes.
James Gunn dropped that whole fucking dad bombshell on us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Because we needed that extra weight.
honestly, I think the most effective one, like Spider-Man, is the one everybody's going to be talking about because they dwell on it for the
Mm-hmm.
longest.
Yes.
The one that I think really hits hardest is fucking Falcon.
Yeah,
Just
that
because
was also in your
just because
review.
it's so spooky. It's
Yeah,
so
it's not even that it's sad, it's just eerie.
yeah, it's
Like
dead
they
fucking
they'll
silent.
get
And
it
no one knows what's
eventually
going on.
what happened, but until then they don't know.
Yeah, nobody saw him go. He just disappeared,
And you
and
know
it's
that like in
like
the beginning they could easily do a thing of just like nobody saw it happen, we don't know. And everybody else is like, "Come on, man, you know."
there is a strong possibility that part of Cap's arc in the next Avengers is him going to be like, okay, fine, I saw Bucky die, but I don't know that Sam is dead,
Yeah.
and him doing the whole kind of like, well,
I'd see that
Bucky
more as
died once.
I'd see that more as Cap than Iron Man.
Oh wait, did I say Tony?
Yeah.
Oh shit, I meant
Well,
Steve.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
Cap.
Okay, we're there. We're on
Yeah,
the same page.
yeah. No, like because that's the whole thing. You got the whole like, oh no, my best buddy slash
Mhm.
partner died, and then it's like, oh, he's back, and then it's like, oh no, my old best buddy slash partner who I thought was dead but came back died for real, super hard, right in front of me, no question.
Mhm.
but I haven't found my new buddy.
Yeah.
He could be out there. We could hold out, and it's like,
Yeah. And
mm, it's
you
gonna be
know Black Widow's gonna pop up with that Winter Soldier dynamic that they just kind of forgot about after that.
that dynamic's so fucking
So
good.
good, and they just
fucking
tossed it out.
when did I watched Winter Soldier pretty recently too, like around when I saw Infinity War. Their dynamic in that movie is so fucking cool, and god damn it, of course Joss Whedon had to come in and just be like, well, she's the girl.
We're just going through your
and
tweets
it's like,
now.
fuck off, dude. Yeah, really. No, that was that's what would happen. What happened as well when I was kicking back watching Ragnarok. I was just angrily tweeting like, "Oh, gee, the sexy redhead spy isn't going for the Chad
Jesus
Archer
Christ.
anymore. No, now she's going for the introverted dweeb who has anger issues. That wouldn't be an attempt at self-insert, would you? Would it just? Fucking hell. I'm glad that they're going out of their way to bury Age of Ultron and be like, what a stupid idea. What a really crummy movie that has like 3 really good scenes in it.
But yeah, so that whole stuff with the character death was one of my points. My only other point was the one that everyone has already said, which is that Thanos' reasoning looks stupid as fuck without Lady Death involved. His love for Gamora, I get what they were trying to go for there. It didn't read very well to me. Like it felt disingenuous, not really from his perspective, but from like a narrative perspective to build like her whole arc around like, fuck this guy, he never once did anything nice for me, I want to murder him. To then show that favoritism for her out of nowhere just kind of feels unearned.
It does feel a little weird now that I think about it, because it's like you could spin it as the whole like, oh, okay, well, he is the Mad Titan, he's insane, he legitimately believes that he's the good guy, he legitimately believes that he's the hero of the story. So you could say he legitimately believes that he loves Gamora because it's like, I rescued her, it's like I saved her and I made her strong and I made her better. And it's like, okay, then why is he such a dick to Nebula?
Yeah.
Why is he like my Gamora, little one? I've made you strong. I taught you good. Fuck you, Nebula. It's literally that Simpsons bit with the lambs.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's gonna be the thumbnail of this one.
So yeah,
just hard cut to the gif of Homer just smacking the lamb out of the way, you. Oh,
yeah.
Just for this bit of the podcast.
For my other movie, since that was really all I had to say about Infinity War a month after the fact.
There's another movie that you saw that I did.
Is Solo.
Which Disney's Han Solo. I did not. I'll be honest. Okay. I got some shit spoiled for me. So if you want to go spoiler, you can. But the funny thing is I had zero interest in seeing it until I saw some of the spoilers, and I went, that sounds really hackneyed. This could be a fun, stupid time.
Okay, see, this is my review. It is a popcorn flick. It is not exactly series defining by any means, but it was fun. And I feel like people were trying to take it too seriously as like an entry in the Star Wars canon. No, just forget that it's part of it and just look at it as like a fun, dumb movie.
I feel like that's like, that kind of sums up everything that Disney is doing wrong with Star Wars. Because I feel like if they had marketed this as like, or at least built this up as like, yeah, it's not essential viewing. It's a little story about Han Solo. It's a little heist movie.
Yeah.
But instead they were like, the story of the smuggler. You learn how he gets his name. And it's like, oh, surprise, he gets his name in the stupidest way imaginable.
That's my other point, is that the name thing was the dumbest, and I loved it just because of how long they dragged that scene out, so that even the least savvy viewer can see what's coming and react with just cringing horror of, oh no, that's really gonna be it, isn't it? God damn it.
I remember going to I went to happy hour with some coworkers before going to one of my master's class that I'm taking for the summer, and I was shooting the shit with one of them, and I mentioned Solo, and he's like, oh yeah, did you see it yet? And I was like, no, but I got spoiled. And I was like, there's one thing I saw it was in a green text, and I'm not sure if it was real because it sounds so awful it might be real. And I described it to him, and he got a big shit-eating grin, and he just nodded while drinking his beer. I went, God fucking damn it, and I downed all of my personal picture.
Oh yeah, it's so terrible
And
that it's funny. It is the funniest part of the movie, and it is absolutely not supposed to be.
man,
One
oh
thing that I
man.
did genuinely like about it is that it set up a character trait that I didn't exactly notice with Han Solo until this movie, and that is that it sets up the precedent for just how often Han Solo gets completely blindsided by betrayal for his entire fucking life up to his death. That is a
Yeah,
defining character trait of him, is that people always betray him and he never sees it coming. Ever.
that's fair. That's actually something pretty clever for them to
He
exploit
gets
for
smacked in
this
the
kind of
face with it
movie.
every goddamn time until his own kid kills him. And it's funny in the darkest way. In that he is supposed to be
Man,
this like smarmy smuggler that talks his way out of everything. No, he gets dicked over by everyone in his life forever until it kills him.
he doesn't trust anybody. He doesn't have a family, except he does trust everybody implicitly.
He trusts literally everyone, and he's like, they're not gonna fuck me over. What the hell?
Who would even do
Yeah.
that?
Um,
Oh boy.
but yeah, so let's get to our main movie focuses, because we're only an hour and 30 minutes into this, and I have to be asleep in like an hour and 10.
Surprisingly succinct so far. I guess this new format is working,
Sure.
considering I think literally every other episode is topped three.
Jesus. We're getting
Uh,
there.
but yeah. Um. So yeah, big movie that I wanted to talk about, or at least the one that I had the most to
Mm-hmm.
say about that I watched in the past month. It's a little art house film called Batman Ninja. Uh, this movie is arguably the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen, and I loved it so
I know
goddamn
about
much.
it. That's
It's
as
so
close as I
cool.
get, is that there is a thing called Batman Ninja, and I've seen a couple stills from it, and I was like, okay.
I think I think you would really like it because, like you were saying when we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about Spider-Man, movies that do something unique with
Yes.
CGI. Oh boy, does this one look unique in terms of CGI? It's got quite the pedigree behind it. Basically, imagine a Batman movie where everything looks like the opening to JoJo Part One.
Okay. Uh,
That's the
I
entire
just
movie.
barely snatched that reference out from over my head. Uh,
Like this is I know it's like a bit cliche to be, oh, just turn your brain off. It's like, no, actually though, this was made
right.
to just turn your brain off. This is not a deep movie. This is not a thoughtful movie. Apparently, the Japanese script, when they were localizing it, apparently the Japanese and the English versions are completely different movies, like 98% difference in terms of story.
Really?
Yeah,
That would be a rewatch I'd be interested in then.
right. And the reasoning is because apparently it's not an uncommon practice with anime to uh, write the dialogue and record it after the animation has been done.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, or rather in Western animation, it's usually like, oh, of course, you want to fucking write the thing before you animate
Yeah.
it. But because in anime, more of the influence is on the action and the mouths aren't
Mm-hmm.
synced up to like every syllable, it's a lot of like flapping.
Yeah.
It's basically a question of, okay, we know there's going to be dialogue in here, so put in some wiggle room for some dialogue, and then we'll do our
Mm-hmm.
best to make it work. And
Yeah.
apparently, I know. I'm pretty sure that's not like the
It's
rule of
not
thumb
across
with.
the board.
Yeah, it's not every anime that does this, but apparently it's not an uncommon practice, especially when it comes to action. So that's understandable.
Okay.
But the reason this caused a problem is because uh, this was an entirely Japanese production that was just financed by Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So script, animation, original dub, everything was all done in Japanese. So when it came time to localize it, the localization team in the West said, "Hey, can we get a script?" And the Japanese team said, "Excuse me, a what?" And they went, the words. And they went, "Oh, uh,
Not even in hindsight did they write it down?
they went, oh, okay, here's some really rough storyboards where apparently they couldn't tell like which character was which.
Oh my
And
god.
also here's the script that we're working with right now. It is a whopping 6 pages." So then the localization team went, "Okay, let's just write our own and try to match the mouths as best we can." And it basically works, except for this one part involving the Joker that makes like no fucking sense. But if you're watching it in the mindset that I was, where this is going to be a tropey, dumb anime movie, it kind of works almost as a parody.
Okay.
Uh, in terms of like anime twists. But do you want to be spoiled for this? Because there's some shit that happens in this movie that if you don't want to be spoiled, I will respect your wishes because I don't think it should be spoiled. It has to be seen to be
If you
believed.
don't think it should be, then I'll say leave it, and then we'll come back to it in like the next
All
episode
right,
or something. I'll make a note.
that sounds like a plan. Then I will not spoil it because the climax of this movie, like for the most part, it's what you'd expect. Okay, the plot is basically, uh, in the first like 2 minutes, Batman's trying to catch Gorilla Grodd, who has some sort of machine at Arkham Asylum. It turns out this is a time machine, and it sends a bunch of them back to ancient Japan. Except Batman is the one that arrives last. And this is actually the most interesting part, is Batman shows up while everybody else has been there for like 2 or more years. So he gets there, and it's like, okay, this is before Japan was unified. So it's like each region is being controlled by a supervillain. Like the biggest name right now is the Joker, and then it's like also Poison Ivy has a section, the Penguin has a section, Two-Face has a section, and Deathstroke has a section. And they're all looking to go to war to get the pieces of the time machine back from the other, so that way they can unify Japan and basically rewrite history as they choose. And it's like, okay. Then Batman ends up getting sent back, and he is on his back foot for the first time ever. And this is something that I actually genuinely thought was really well done in this movie. Because normally I find Batman kind of boring, because he's cool, but he never has to try. He never has to actively like improve himself. Like there was some of that in The Dark Knight Rises, where like he had to, but even then that was mostly just like physical therapy. It wasn't him like actually. It wasn't that he had to get better. It was
that he had to get back to where he was.
Exactly. Yes. Whereas in this one, it's like, okay, Batman shows up in ancient Japan, and he's dressed as fucking Batman. So he's like, okay, first of all, I need a disguise. Second of all, I have the Batmobile with me, so that's good. And he's like, this should be a piece of cake. I have my utility belt, I have the Batmobile, I'm gonna go stop the Joker. So he takes the Batmobile, and he basically plows right through all the Joker's shit, and then the Joker reveals that his castle is a big robot, and he destroys the Batmobile, and Batman goes, well, I'm fucked. That's literally all I had. So now we get a story that takes place over the course of months, where Batman, Alfred, Catwoman, and all the Robins have to train with a clan of ninjas to actually acclimate to that level of technology, namely not having any. So he has to basically learn to be a legit ninja and not just rely on fucking EMPs and smoke bombs and batarangs and grapple launchers and all that shit, and go back to just straight up like, okay, you get a kunai that's shaped like a bat, and that's what you have to work with.
See, that's really interesting.
It's really interesting, and it makes the action fucking awesome. The action in this movie is so goddamn cool. Like, oh my god, the action in this movie is good. There is a sword fight at the end between Batman and the Joker. And the reason it's so good is because the Joker's been there for a couple of years, so the Joker knows how to fucking fight, arguably better than Batman.
Jesus.
So it's actually a really good sword fight. It's really, really cool. And it's like, but then also in the climax, some other shit happens that is, I think, the dumbest thing I have seen all year, or at the very least the most inexplicable, the most indescribable. Like if I described it to you right now, it would sound like the results of like a text generator just spitting out words. And I'm not even
All right.
exaggerating. Anybody listening to this who has seen this movie knows exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen this, go
Tune
check
back
this
in a
out.
month from now when we talk about this.
Check back next time when we reveal what we thought about the climax of Batman Ninja, because holy Jesus. But yeah, no, it's a simple movie. It's not complicated by any means. I mean, all the time travel shit is a little overwrought, but
Mm-hmm.
like you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
It's an excuse for Batman to dress like a ninja and fight the Joker who's dressed like a daimyo.
Mm-hmm.
And you get exactly that, and it's really fucking well done. The animation is really good, the action is really good, the art direction is fucking amazing. Like I would buy a maquette of like every character in this movie.
All right.
It's a really fucking gorgeous film. It's really well animated. It looks infinitely better in terms of art design and music and everything else compared to all the other straight to
Mm-hmm.
video DC movies coming out now. Shit like The Killing Joke, Batman and Harley Quinn, uh, all this stuff where it's the same like flat style and it's very clearly made with like a TV movie
Mm-hmm.
budget. This actually looks like something much above that pay grade. It amounts to more than the sum of its
Nice.
parts. Now, if you go in expecting like legitimate, like compelling Batman drama, you're going to be really, really disappointed because it's
Right.
ridiculous. But if you're looking for 90 minutes of Batman in feudal Japan having fucking badass sword fights with like mechs and there's gorillas and time travel and all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
crazy shit, check it out.
Well,
It's a
now I'm
good
gonna have
time.
to.
It's a very good time. I think
All
you
right.
especially would like it just because of the animation. It's great. But I'm very excited to hear about
Yes.
your movie.
Uh,
Tell us which
my
one you
movie is by no
chose.
means a new movie. It is something that I watched for my friend's birthday at his request. Which, by the way, one of the most fun birthday parties I've ever went to. It was just like a night of like karaoke rock band with like I want to say 12, 14 people.
That sounds like a good time.
Of all of like our closest friends here. And then we watched the 1992 Brendan Fraser original Encino Man.
Jesus.
Uh, which Mark, have you ever seen Encino Man
I
by any
have
chance?
not seen Encino Man. I've seen bits and pieces of Encino Man, but I
Okay,
know the
you need to
gist.
see
Do
Encino
I need to
Man.
see Encino Man?
You really do. Okay, so it is a comedy movie starring Brendan Fraser playing one of Brendan Fraser's best character types that he would get typecast as, which is a dumb, well-meaning, incredibly attractive fish out of water man. Um, and in this one, he plays the character of Link. Link is a prehistoric caveman, which we see in the opening during the Ice Age, who gets frozen along with his, I guess, wife, his partner, his mate, um, and then it flash cuts to the like modern day LA. And we're introduced to Sean Astin's
Oh my
character.
God, Sean
Uh,
Astin is in this.
Sean Astin is the main character, and can I
Yes.
just say, I don't want to spoil too much. The only time I have ever disliked a character that Sean Astin played was this movie, and oh my god, do I dislike him. He is the main character, and
Really?
at no point did they ever really attempt to paint him as the villain. He is 100% the villain of this movie.
Oh, it's one
He
of
spends
those. It's
he
a
spends the entire movie selfishly attempting to gain popularity and doesn't ever really turn it around enough to redeem himself by the end.
oh
Uh,
boy.
However, the other important thing about this movie is that the secondary main character for the modern world, the tritagonist, if you will, along with Sean Astin's character and Brendan Fraser's, who is named Link because he's the missing link,
Aha.
um, is Pauly Shore. And the most important
Yes.
thing about this movie is that it taught me that the only pure human being in this world is Pauly Shore. Oh my god, he is the sweetest character I have ever seen put to film. He is so nice, and I can barely understand what he is saying at any given moment in this film.
He sure
I
made
want to
some
see.
trouble in that bubble.
He is the one to help teach Link like how to speak English,
Oh,
which is
good.
funny in its
Oh,
own right.
good.
It's amazing. He is taught by TV and Pauly Shore how to speak basic English, and it he is all the better for it. And how much of this movie do you want spoiled for you? Because it is so
Uh,
much.
uh,
The
Go
the
nuts.
nominal vil it's I'm gonna tell you the things, and they're gonna be every '80s and '90s like high school movie cliche in the book.
Is
Uh,
there a part where he learns to skateboard or do
I'm
something
trying to
similarly
maybe
radical?
I think that might have happened, honestly. But no, the main thing is that he learns how to drive a car at one point.
Oh, good.
Uh, and I say he learns how to drive. I mean, he learns how to work the car, not necessarily follow the rules of the road, obviously. Um, but yeah, so this whole movie, the nominal villain is the jock boyfriend of the dude of the girl that Sean Astin has a crush on. Um, and he is over the top in every single scene that he's in. He is hilarious. Uh, he did. Do you remember that one joke in Hot Fuzz, where like the two the two Andys are like just like riffing on Sean fuck
Simon Pegg?
Simon Pegg, thank you.
Yeah.
Simon Pegg's character, and they just do the thing where they go off screen, then they come back on.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes.
just funny shit with camera work. He does that, and it is the most unexpected funny scene in the whole movie. Like he just pops on with this perfect face. It's amazing. Um, and the whole thing is that like the jock, the whole like last hour like thing is Sean Astin does something super shitty and doesn't really redeem himself for it except in like the weakest way possible. And Pauly Shore is always right and tries to be like the father to this new adult caveman son that they have together.
Huh.
There's a scene where he takes him to like a 7-Eleven and shows him how to like basically binge on candy and steal from the icy machine, and it's amazing. Um, and it ends just to out and out spoil this whole thing with the big reveal at prom, where the jock finally has evidence that Link is a caveman. And so he gets up on stage and he loudly proclaims this fact. And the reaction to this big reveal at the end of the movie, where the jock tells the whole prom that Link is really a caveman, is the best reaction to a shocking reveal that I've ever seen from characters in a movie, in that they all immediately react with a resounding "who gives a fuck" and kick the guy off the stage. It's
That's
amazing. They all
amazing.
just go, we don't fucking care about the premise of this movie. We just like the guy. And then they kick him off the stage and everybody cheers. And that's not even the end of the movie. There's an extra climax towards the end too. Um, my main point in wanting to talk about this movie is Encino Man 2 when.
Oh boy. I mean, they're making like Bill and Ted
Except
3
no, I
and
already have
Top
a
Gun
pitch.
2.
I have a
Like,
pitch to Netflix or whoever about Encino Man 2.
give it right
Okay.
now. Sell me on Encino Man
Okay, so
2.
we already know Encino Man 2 functions on like dumb 90s tropes for everything, and they don't have to like explain why anything is actually happening. They do have a little thing at the beginning of like the science teacher going off on his crazy theories about under the crust of the earth glaciers that might be spiked up by earthquakes, and then of course an earthquake happens, and that's how Link shows up in the pool that Sean Astin's character wants to build, because that's totally what's going to get him all the chicks, is an end of the year pool party with this pool that he's building for himself, which is literally just a hole he digs in the ground. He doesn't think of any extra steps other than that. He's going to dig a hole in the ground and
Oh
he's
my
going to fill it
god.
with water, and that is it. Um, and so I'm gonna take that loose definition of science, and we're gonna come full circle. This movie was about Brendan Fraser's character Link adapting to the modern world. The second movie will be about them having some flimsy reason for finding time travel, and then it's gonna be Sean Astin, Pauly Shore, and probably the love interest whose name I don't remember because they don't give her any characterization, and any choice she makes comes out of nowhere. Um, they're all going to go back to the Ice Age, and they're going to have to acclimate to Link's way of life. That is what I want for Encino Man 2.
Yes. Yes.
And
No,
they
that's
absolutely
perfect.
set up a way for there to be a direct sequel to Encino Man. Toss that shit out the window. We're going back to the Ice Age.
Oh, yeah, no, that's more than
So
ideal,
yeah,
honestly.
my recommendation for you and anybody listening is if you haven't seen Encino Man, pour yourself a nice glass of your favorite alcoholic beverage or whatever you like to kick back with, and just watch it and learn to love Pauly Shore.
Oh man, we're really plugging the alcohol
Are you
consumption
are
in
you
this episode.
surprised?
You have to be heavily intoxicated to learn how to love
I
Pauly Shore.
disagree. I was completely stone cold sober for this. I just want you to get into the right mindset to like learn to love everything else about this movie.
Pauly Shore has a plan for you. He
Do you
loves you
remember
very much.
Samwise Gamgee? Prepare to watch a movie where you want to rip that guy's fucking throat out.
Remember in Stranger Things season 2 when he forgot the
Yeah.
gun for some reason?
But anyways,
Oh
that's
god.
my movie, and I'm sticking to it.
But anyway, Encino Man. What a movie. Encino Man
I'm
2
excited for Brendan Fraser's
coming
return to
with me
fame. I think
review.
he's a nice man that deserves it.
He really does. Brendan
I
Fraser has
think there
had a
should be an
hard
Encino
life.
Man 2. No disrespect to Sean Astin, who I'm sure is an actual nice person in real life, but without Sean Astin's character, it's just going to be a pure Brendan Fraser and Pauly Shore career redemption vehicle, and it needs to happen.
Oh god. Sean Astin is also somebody who strikes me as just an absolute peach in real life. He seems like a
Exactly. I
nice
feel
man.
like that was the nicest set ever. Like, if you were on the set of Encino Man 2, you just felt loved. You were in Nirvana for the short, however long it took to film that movie.
An ancient Viking warrior dies, and the Valkyrie visits him on the battlefield. She says, "Come, you have served your people well." And she carries his spirit to the set of Encino Man, where he lives in glory for
Perfect.
all eternity until Ragnarok.
Also, scrap my idea for Encino Man 2, I got a new one.
Yes.
So a Viking was frozen.
Yes.
Just get different people from different time periods who are inexplicably like frozen in time and can come back to
Oh
life.
man, who would play the Viking? Who's a
Oh,
who's
I
a
don't even know.
who's a good like Brendan Fraser, Pauly Shore caliber person who has not been in
who is
anything
somebody who's just an
recently?
absolute peach and Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill is a Viking.
Have Mark Hamill like
Oh,
as an aged Viking who
I thought you
just
were going to
shows
say
up
as an
for
Asian
some reason in
Viking.
it.
Mark Hamill is an Asian Viking. Oh man, no, he would go in on that. He would deliver an 11 out of 10 performance as the unfrozen Viking in Encino Man 2.
Jesus.
Oh boy. So yeah,
Just get every incredibly nice person and make like a whole Encino pantheon.
you get Mark Hamill, get like Kurt Russell, Jeff Goldblum, Tom
The
Cruise, just
Encino
every
Man.
famous Tom Hanks, just every famously nice actor or actress. Betty
Yes.
White's in there for some reason. She could play like, I don't know, an old Victorian lady who was frozen in ice. They were all frozen
She's
in
one of
ice.
those female pirates that like commanded a whole army and got away with it.
She's an ancient pirate queen who was
I mean,
frozen in a block of ice.
seeing her chuck a spear at Joel McHale in season 2 of Community, I'd buy it.
Betty White, the frozen pirate queen. Wait, Encino Man 2 has taken a turn.
It has, and I think it's better for it.
This is how real movie magic is made.
This is how
Slap,
Gremlins 2 was made. By
slap
not
a
saying
Coke
no.
logo on it. By saying no until you're contractually forced to say yes.
The Toy Story method.
Yeah. I was going to say the Weinstein method, but...
Well...
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba, dark. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Oh, God.
All right, so
yeah.
Moving on to our final segment, coming soon.
Coming up soon, coming up in June. Some of these have already come out. Action Point, which we talked about, I think the last time you were on the podcast.
We might have, yeah. I don't remember it, but...
I think so.
That was also another episode where we were heavily encouraging alcoholic beverages, because I think that was the one where we both were like, yeah, I'm drinking right now. Oh, hey, me too. Oh, hey, me too.
Yeah. It was either that or the lost Straczynski recording, which I don't think is lost. One of these days I will dredge that up and put that together. The video of us watching Straczynski in the Magic House while getting increasingly intoxicated in a 20-minute span. But yeah, Action Point came out.
Mm-hmm.
Hotel Artemis also came out. I need to check that out. We've also got Won't You Be My Neighbor, which is the documentary about Mr. Rogers, and I really need to see that.
It looks so interesting, and also just like Mr. Rogers as a person is a very interesting man.
Yeah, like I have a little book by him where it's not really a book. It's like it's a little pocket thing just full of quotes, but it also has like a foreword written by his wife. And yeah, dude was apparently just like that all the time.
Yeah, he just never turned it off.
I remember she talks about like how he proposed to her, and apparently he wrote her like a very nice letter because he was away like on business or at school or something at the time. And he wrote her like a very pleasant letter that had like very nice penmanship, and it was like, I'd be very pleased if you would marry me or something like that. And it's like, and she's like, yep, and that's how it happened.
That's adorable.
And it's like, right? Like, what an interesting human. What in like...
He's the kind of like...
It's like...
never turns it off nice that like I think I've only seen with like the older members, like the older cast members that I worked with working at Disney World. With just like people who live to just bring joy to people's lives, and that's all that they want to do.
It's like he came from a planet just adjacent to the one Tommy Wiseau came from. It's like you don't act like any other human on the face of the earth, but that's a really objectively good thing.
I just want to point out that we're slowly gaining like not to use the same $10 word in like the span of 10 minutes, but we're getting a sort of pantheon of celebrities that we claim are aliens.
It's like the Federation of Planets.
I hope that it's ET style.
They're all just waiting
in
for the
like the prequels where it's they all look exactly alike.
Yeah, it's like the hidden ending to the Room RPG, where it's a bunch of Tommy Wiseau's. It's a bunch of.
I was
Mr.
thinking
Rogers.
The finale to Mr. Bean.
Oh,
where just
God.
the UFO shows up and a bunch of other little Mr. Beans show up and they just drag him away. Like, sorry, we lost this one. He's ours.
If you haven't listened to the old Sleepycast episode where they had Harry Partridge on, they have an amazing discussion about the true nature of Mr. Bean. That makes me laugh my ass off every time I listen to it. But yeah, no, Won't You Be My Neighbor? Mr. Rogers was a fascinating human being, and I'm very much looking forward to checking that out.
Yeah.
Another film I'm very much looking forward to checking out. This is actually probably, surprisingly enough, this might be my most anticipated film this month. Fucking Hereditary.
Really?
Came out.
Haven't seen the trailer to this one. Um,
Have you? Oh my god, have you not?
or at least I don't think I have. I might have checked it out like by accident during like
Uh,
I was just like trying to do something other than what I had to be doing, and I was just looking at trailers for
mhm.
like every trailer I could find.
Falling
Um,
into the trailer hole.
the biggest thing that I have for this is that I threw a tropical, or me and my roommates, mostly my roommates, threw a tropical themed dual birthday party for two of our friends last night. Um, and while I was there, we were talking. I was talking to a couple of my friends who are more horror inclined people. If I'm going to go see a horror movie, I'm going to talk to them because I know they'll say yes. They'll want to go. Um,
Right.
and the biggest thing that I heard about them from this movie is a lot of them want to see it. B, one that normally would see it was like, I don't know if I can do that.
Oh,
And that was the biggest thing for me. I was like, oh,
that's
really?
no. That's the thing I've been hearing from people is because I've been hearing a lot of reviews where they're like, "Oh yeah, no, this is very good." You know, apparently it's the director's first film, and they're saying like, "Yeah, it reminds me a lot of The Witch in that regard."
Okay.
The Witch, where it's like very strong debut, very good horror movie, like it a lot. You know, definitely something to revisit.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's always that like every like five people that I see who are like, "Yeah, it was good, I liked it." There's one person that's like, this is actually the first horror movie I've found that is scary.
Yeah.
I've had people saying, like, this is the first movie that I've ever considered walking out because it was too scary.
See, it's weird to me.
And I'm
Just
like,
like a
at a
thing,
point,
like I don't know if
it's
this
hard
is
to
your
conceive.
reaction to it, but it says something about myself that I hear that, and I'm like, A, I want to see this movie. B, I kind of want to be one of those people. I
Yeah,
want to have
no,
that
exactly.
feeling. It's so interesting.
That's the reason why I love watching documentaries about Jaws and
Mm-hmm.
Alien, because you hear about people who are like, oh yeah, you know, we were going around doing test screenings of Alien back in like
Mm-hmm.
'79, and they're like, it would get to the chestburster sequence, and people would be vomiting in the
Yeah,
aisles, and it would get to the
because they'd
part where
never
they
seen
knock
anything like that.
Ash's head off, and it's like one woman fainted because she wandered into the wrong theater, and it's like, holy shit, like. I saw the chestburster scene when I was 8 years old while I was eating pizza, and I was fine
Yeah,
with it. It's like,
I want that
imagine
moment. I
being in
want that.
that world.
It's
I want
weird to be
something
like,
that
I want to
fucks
be
with me that
scarred.
deeply. This is the mindset that brings people to places like
That's
McKamey
I
Manor.
mean that's true.
It's a slippery slope to paying hundreds of dollars to get waterboarded and
Yeah,
fed
and it's weird that I
cockroaches.
have that reaction to like this kind of thing because like also at the party we had like some sort of like one of the peppers that you need to have milk on hand for uh just like
Right.
in like chocolate truffles, and I was like, yeah, you guys have fun with that. I'm all right. But like this, I'm like, hell yeah, fucking strap me in, let's go.
Yeah, no, if you haven't seen the trailer for this, you said you were about to go to bed. Watch
Okay.
it right now. It'll be great. Make sure the lights are off. You'll have
I
a
only got to be
wonderful
up for
time
work at
with it.
5. Let's go.
Uh, fuck yeah. No, Hereditary looks and sounds and apparently is very, very good. I'm excited. I wanted to maybe check it out this
Mm-hmm.
weekend, but fate had other plans. So, but I'm definitely getting around to checking that
Yes.
one out. We also got
Mm-hmm.
Incredibles 2. Been waiting a long ass time for this one. Looks good. Brad Bird's back, so it has my
Yes.
full confidence.
I
I'm
am
excited.
interested in the things that are not given focus in the trailer, weirdly enough. I want to see a lot more about what Mrs.
Yeah.
Incredible is up to in this plot. I think her arc is going to be um, interesting. I know it's going to be what ends the third act. I want to see, like, they showed, like, very brief glimpses of, like, the new era heroes. Like, the kids
Yeah,
that
those
have
we
powers that
have
have
like
never
seen
been
none of
able to
them.
be a hero before. I think that's super interesting. Like people that like were born with powers after the ban and haven't been able to express it ever. I think that's super
Yeah.
interesting. Um,
I remember seeing some initial reactions, and one person was like, "It's still got that Ayn Rand streak to it," and I'm like, That's something I thought was really fascinating about the first one, how the message was like, no, you should be as good as you can
Yeah.
be within reason. And I was like, that's an interesting, because it's like you get a lot of kids movies where the message is like,
Mm-hmm.
reach for the stars, do your best, believe in yourself. But The Incredibles took like a very blunt, like real world look at it, where it's like, you should be the best you can be. Just understand people are going to resent you for doing that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do
There
that.
was also a lot of like I've seen a lot of discussion on things with like
You shouldn't be the best
what's
just
his
so you could
name?
say you're the
The villain.
best. In the first
Yeah.
Incredibles,
I'm blanking on his name.
Syndrome.
Syndrome, yeah. I've seen a lot of
Syndrome.
things discussing Syndrome with people being like, I mean, if he just did the second part of his plan without the first, he wouldn't be in the wrong.
Yeah, like that, and that's the whole thing. Is his whole plan was based around getting glory.
Yeah, like if he had
When it's like
just did the thing that bothered him without having to make it petty, like there's a decent
he could have
argument that
so easily been a
yeah,
superhero.
he could have gotten what he wanted if he didn't have to also get revenge.
Yeah, it's like I'm glad that like of everything that there, like there's the latent fear where it's like, oh no, is this going to be a rehash of the first one? It's like of the little bits I've seen, because I will admit I've been clicking on those like weird bootleg
Mm-hmm.
trailers where it's like Incredibles 2 Disney movie, Elastigirl motorcycle new job
Yeah,
mom film trailers,
just because they have like a
and it's
couple
like yeah,
extra
it's like
scenes that are somehow mashed in there that
yeah,
they got from I don't know
there's
where.
like there's an extra 15 seconds that they got from somewhere, and it's like every bit of that it's like, okay, no, this feels like a
Yeah,
continuation rather than just it's the first one but the mom now.
yeah. I'm
uh,
interested in
but if there was
what might be a rehash, but just from like a different thing. Is that like I'm wondering if oh, what's his name? I'm blanking on all the names tonight. Um, Better Call Saul guy. Bob
Bob
Odenkirk. I'm
Odenkirk.
wondering if his character is also
Yeah,
like
his too.
a villain in some fashion.
That's the thing is I feel like that's the
Yeah, I'm
obvious
not
thing
certain if it's that or
because
if
it's
just
like
Bob
because
Odenkirk breeds distrust in his character acting.
yeah, like that's the thing is I feel like 100% of the marketing has been on the family, but there's a whole other part of the cast that we don't really get
Yeah.
any time with. And it's like that's what's still keeping me interested. I saw there was a really fun clip that one of the clips that I watched in like those weird trailer compilations, and it's the bit where they give her the
Mm-hmm.
motorcycle for the first time, and it's a really fun little character moment. Like that's the funny thing is as I get older, the more I enjoy the dynamic between Mr. and Mrs.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible in the first one because they're such a fun like
Yeah.
relatable couple, and they still like it feels like there was not even a 10-plus year
Yeah.
gap between them. We're looking at this little conversation they have over a motorcycle where she walks in and he's like, "Wait, they made you a motorcycle?" And she's like, "Bitchin', I used to have a motorcycle." And he's like, "You used to have an Elastigirl motorcycle?" And she's like, "There was a part where I had a mohawk too." And he's like, "You want a mohawk?" And it's like,
Good.
that's great. I love that she was like cool, edgy, like 20 something superhero, and now she's like stay at home mom, but she
Yeah.
still also has a
And I also like
motorcycle.
how that's very much a
It's
nod
a
to
very
like
specific kind of
superheroes in
archetype.
general with like attempts to reinvent them and just like a oh hey what if we tried this out one time, but just like within the meta narrative of a, like oh no that was like my 20s figuring myself out phase. It's a nice way to like bridge it into
Yeah,
it.
right. Like I find it's almost ironic because so often a lot of times you'll see this with like what Marvel's been doing recently, where they'll be like, "We're gonna reinvent this badass character. Now
Mm-hmm.
they have a baby," and it's like this is the lamest shit ever because half of this comic book is them just talking about having a baby. But then when they do it in the Incredibles, it's like the
Yeah,
most interesting, endearing thing ever. It's
yeah,
really
it's
it's
all about
all
whether
about
you're
the
doing it with
execution,
heart
and
or as a gimmick.
Brad Bird can do no wrong.
Happy time murders.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Happy Time Murder. What a fucking awful title. God damn. That's the worst title
The thing that I
of
think
any
makes me most
film.
mad about this movie is
I
entirely
think
personal. Is just that I saw like a friend that not even somebody that I know
what
all that
Happy
well, but
Time
just somebody that
Murders?
I like follow on Twitter and like know in real life and have met before,
Yeah.
talking about how they were
Mm.
following this movie like from a production standpoint before it came out, and like the concept art is all gritty and it looked so great for so long,
Oh
and then they
yeah.
saw the trailer and they just felt like they
No,
got punched in the face with how shitty it was.
apparently it's been
Yeah.
in development for like years and years and years. The
Yeah, it's
concept art is
amazing.
fucking awesome. It's all like sun bleached and washed out.
I hate to be one of those stuck up people that's like, oh god, the concept art looks so good, what happened? But like, come on.
Oh, I love being that kind of person. Yeah, no, the final movie looks like shit.
It really does.
Like it doesn't look like as garish as like the Ghostbusters remake, but
Yeah.
it looks pretty generic. It looks like someone took just a Melissa McCarthy comedy and put Muppets in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you clearly got some kind of stylistic thing you were going for. You had that at one point. But yeah, Incredibles 2 looks really good.
Yeah.
And then also we got Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah.
Uh, which I think is out in some places because
Possibly.
I've heard people talking about it. Um,
Popcorn flick?
General consensus is I've heard it's actually a bit better than the first Jurassic World.
Really? That's interesting to me.
Because the thing is I think I've heard a lot of people saying, yeah, it's basically just as brain dead. It's basically just a big,
Mm-hmm.
action slash monster movie with some quips in it. But apparently this one at least does some stuff that's interesting and
Okay.
different. Like it's not just dinosaurs
I
run
mean,
amok in the theme park.
if I was going to see it, it was gonna be with like the most mild uh
Yeah,
reaction of just, it might be fun. Uh,
yeah. Like the one thing I'm excited to hear about is I remember hearing about the director. Apparently, he is mostly known for horror stuff. Like I think
mm-hmm.
he did The Orphanage and a few other horror movies. And they kept playing up in the pre-release stuff, in trailers and featurettes and whatnot, saying, "Oh yeah, he's brought like a real horror eye to it. He's brought like a real horror element. He's going in with the
The
horror on
trailers didn't
this."
say that.
And that's the thing. From what I've heard from people, is apparently the final act is basically just okay. They're in a big gothic mansion and there's dinosaurs, and it's a big gothic horror movie for the final act. There's lots of heavy shadows and
Good.
monsters just out of sight, and it's just
I
monsters in a
hope that
spooky
that's
old
true.
house, and it's like that's cool. Yeah, it's like I'm looking forward to that because it's like the coolest part of those trailers was the bit where like the big gimmick dinosaur is like reaching for the little girl. It's like, ooh, that's spooky. That doesn't feel like
Yeah.
Jurassic, but that could be cool. And apparently, the first 10 minutes of it is like transcendental. I've been hearing like apparently the first part of this movie is an action sequence that goes on for like 10 minutes, and apparently it's like
Really?
beyond phenomenal. Like it's one of the best parts out of any Jurassic Park
Okay.
movie, apparently. But even people I've seen who are like, "Oh, this movie sucked. It's brain dead and stupid." Even they were like, "Oh yeah, but that first 10 minutes was fucking amazing." So
Well, all right.
I've been avoiding spoilers like crazy because I'm very excited to see what they do with it to warrant that kind of reaction from people. But
The up clause.
yeah, right. Because I've stopped taking anything like quote unquote professional seriously, especially if
Mm-hmm.
it comes from like an advanced screening.
That's fair.
Because I feel like I know you don't watch a whole lot of Red Letter Media. Have you seen any of their Nerd Crew stuff?
Nope.
It's basically a gag series that just takes the piss out of those like IGN podcasts, like
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, where they're all surrounded by like Funko Pops and they've got like lensless glasses,
Hey, I'm still going to
and
bat for Funko Pops.
where they start every opinion with like, well, for me personally,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that this, and they had a whole segment a while back where they were like, personally, I loved this movie that we were invited by the company to see.
Mm-hmm.
They gave me a gift bag and a meal, and I get to see their movie before everybody else. It was perfect. And it's like, yeah, That's basically what a lot of big film criticism is
Yeah.
nowadays. At
I'm a
least at
very
least
big
before
fan
the
of
movie
people
comes
who
out to the
get those
public.
things, and like the person who get like the company who gave them those things clearly doesn't know who this person is, and they'll just rip the movie to
Yeah.
shreds anyway.
Like that's the thing. And then they do that and then they don't get invited
Yeah.
back. And it's like, oops, this is
That
how
one time was
movies work
funny.
now. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, we don't get fooled again. But yeah, Jurassic World 2, uh, optimistic. Should be a fun
Yes.
time. But yeah, we're fully in the swing of the summer movie season. A lot of good shit is coming out. A lot of stuff that I really
Hmm.
want to see. Uh, I know that I'm going to be spending a good amount of time at the theater this month.
Same.
So, uh, yeah. So before we sign off, is there anything you wanted to plug?
Yes. Before I plug all of my stuff, I just want to say one thing, and you don't have to react to it. In fact, I encourage that you don't. If anybody is so inclined, I want
Oh,
you to go on YouTube right now and look up the phrase Karate Dog movie. It is a movie starring Chevy Chase as a talking dog who knows karate. Uh,
oh my
the whole
fuck.
movie is on there as of this recording, and wow. anyways,
Oh, this thing.
anyways,
Oh,
that's
it's
all the
this
time that
thing.
we have. You can find me on Twitter
No,
at
wait.
Chris underscore Costi. You can see some of the things I've worked on over on It's Alex Clark's YouTube channel. He does a weekly animated, like, kind of retrospective on his life personal thing. Weekly animated things are not easy to do, and they're great, so check him out. Yeah.
Oh man, no,
No,
this
no, we're not
karate dog
addressing it.
thing.
People are finding out on their
I
own.
no 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 no. Have you seen the test footage for the Hong Kong Fooey movie?
No, I had what? Hong Kong Fooey movie?
Hong Kong Fooey was gonna get a back when like Garfield and Alvin and the Chipmunks and all that shit was getting live action movies.
Pumping the brakes on
They
the
were gonna
ending.
make
We're back.
they were gonna make a Hong Kong Fooey one starring Eddie Murphy as Hong Kong Fooey.
Jesus.
And when you search Karate Dog, the second video that pops up where he's on like a rooftop, that's literally like the Hong Kong Fooey test footage. I think they took the test footage and made a movie out
Oh
of
my
it.
god. Anyways, watch that movie.
Like,
It's not great. I've only watched 15 minutes of it. It stars uh okay, I just want to point out that the actors in this as they're listed are John Voight, Jamie Presley, Simon Rex, then Chevy Chase.
oh no.
And he is the main character. He is the talking dog.
Oh no.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. No, it's actually John Voight, Jamie Presley, Simon Rex, Pat Morita, and then Chevy Chase.
Oh no, Pat
Oh
Morita's in
yeah, and it's as
this.
stereotypical and as you can imagine it would be for a movie named Karate Dog
Uh,
that came out in like 2006.
oh man. He's really hitting those letter errors, I bet. Oh boy.
Anyways,
Fucking brought to you by
this has
Karate
been
Dog.
Best Boys.
This has been Karate
This
Dog.
is probably not the best of these
Uh,
boys.
oh boy. Oh yeah, stuff
Yeah.
for me to plug. Yeah. If you're listening to this, you probably know about the blog, but in case you don't, whiteguyWithNetflix.blogspot.com, trying to upload movie reviews once a week. Things are a little hectic, things are a little tumultuous, but I'm getting through. I'm working with it. I'm also on Twitch at Twitch TV / Jurassic Mark Plays. Follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. I'm looking to stream some more. I finished or not finished, but rather fucking ran out of my backlog of Batman footage. Uh, but I'm looking to stream that again sometime soon when I can manage it to finish up season 1 of the Telltale Batman game. I've got a lot of other things that I want to stream. I've actually started playing Fallout New Vegas just on a whim. because I love that game, but I've never actually stuck with it long enough to complete it. It's like Skyrim. I always get distracted.
I don't think I've ever finished
So
Skyrim
this time
either,
I decided,
actually. I just keep doing all the different things.
Right?
I think the most fun I ever had for it.
There's just too much weird shit
I think
to get
the most fun I ever
distracted by.
had with it was just with the cheesy ass little like Wizard College arc.
Yeah. See, what I found works, oddly enough, it's the same thing as D&D.
This has been Best Boys. We're done. We're good. We're out.
No, wait, I gotta plug my Fallout character. No, you'll like this. I made a guy named Carnotaurus Jones, and he looks like Snidely Whiplash.
Oh Christ! You can say Waluigi. It's 2018.
Really, he really does look like Waluigi. I turned all the sliders up to maximum. I gave him a big curly mustache and big angry eyebrows and a pompadour.
Or no, and, wait, no. One better. He is Dan Backslide.
Yeah, he's Dan Backslide. He is exactly Dan Backslide, wandering through the wasteland. He's also a homosexual cannibal, and literally like half of my playthrough has involved just eating people. So maybe that'll show up in a stream sometime. Stay tuned. Until next time, this has been Best Boys. See you around.
Fucking Christ.
Here I go. Here I go. Here I go. Here I go. Here I go.